afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks so much for your patience. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. Please be seated. And also, thank you for taking a moment to look at our acknowledgement to our friends and neighbors, the Squamish and Tsleil-Waututh Nation. We're having two public hearings this afternoon, and I'd ask our corporate officers to introduce them, please.
Thank you, Mayor Sager. Council is convening this public hearing to consider and receive submissions regarding the following proposed bylaws. For item 3, proposed official community plan bylaw number 4985-2018, amendment bylaw number 5296-2024, and zoning bylaw number 4662-2010, amendment bylaw number 5297-2024, for the address 2905 Marine Drive. A public meeting to receive submissions regarding proposed development permit 23-101 for the same address will be held concurrently. For item 4, zoning bylaw number 4662-2010 amendment.
Could I ask, sure.
Mr.
Chu, could you read that later? Could we just do item number 3 at this time?
Absolutely. I'll just go through the rest of the procedure then.
Thank you.
Anyone who believes that their interest in property is affected by the proposed bylaws and the proposed development permit will be heard and or may provide a written submission, either in person or via email to the address correspondence@westvancouver.ca. No one will be discouraged or prevented from making their views heard. Council members may ask questions of you following your presentation, but Council's function during this public hearing is to listen to the views of the public and not to debate the proposed bylaws and development permit. After the public hearing and concurrent public meeting has concluded, Council may, without further notice, give whatever effect Council believes proper to the representations. Your only opportunity to comment to the proposed bylaws is during this public hearing. Council is not permitted to receive further submissions once Council has closed the public hearing. Council has received documents which are available for the public to view. A hard copy of these may be obtained from the corporate officer during the public hearing and concurrent public meeting. These documents can also be viewed online at westvancouver.ca/news/notices. Please note that the online copy of documents will not include items received after noon today. To maintain order and to ensure that everyone has an opportunity to be heard, here are the rules of procedure. A speakers list has been established. For those attending in person, you may place your name on the list at any time throughout the public hearing. The list is at the door. If you are speaking from prepared remarks, Council requests that a copy be provided to the corporate officer. To participate via WebEx, please phone 604-925-7004, provide your name and telephone number to staff, and they will add you to the speakers list. When it is your turn to address Council, staff will allow you to unmute your microphone and turn on your camera if you wish in order to provide your public input opportunity. Please note that staff are not in a position to provide you with a specific time slot when you register to speak, so we ask that participants who wish to address Council be available for the duration of the public hearing. Second, Council requests that you please begin your remarks by providing your name and municipality of residence. If you're speaking on behalf of some other person or organization, Council requests that you please identify the name of that person or organization. Third, please limit your remarks to 5 minutes and to the subject of the proposed bylaws. Please be respectful to others. And fourth, after everyone has spoken once, you will have an opportunity to speak subsequent times to provide additional information if you wish. Please follow the process outlined a moment ago to be re-added to the speakers list. If you have any concerns about the rules of the hearing, please address your comments to the chair. Mayor Sager, the first item, as I mentioned before, is regarding 2905 Marine Drive. And I'll hand it over to staff for a presentation.
Go to Mr. Bailey, or is it Ms. McGuire? Ms. McGuire? Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of Council. I'll just share my screen here. Just have a brief presentation. So for consideration at tonight's public hearing is a proposed townhouse project at 2905 Marine Drive. On the screen there, you can see a rendering of the proposal. Here you can see a map showing the site outlined in pink there. It's located at the northwest corner of Marine Drive and 29th Street in the Altamont neighborhood. You can also see on the map there are adjacent bus stops, both eastbound and westbound on Marine Drive there, adjacent to the site. The site is zoned currently RS2. It is approximately 13,000 square feet in size. Here shows an aerial image. You can see the existing mature trees on the site and in the immediate area. The site's located directly across the street from West Vancouver Presbyterian Church and then kitty corner from the 29th Street tennis courts. Just a little bit of background, council did consider a previous townhouse proposal for the site, and you can see two renderings of that previous proposal on the screen here. The staff report does go into more detailed comparison between the previous proposal and the current proposal, but just briefly, both proposals have similar siting, access, and circulation. The previous proposal included 8 townhouse units, the current proposal has 5. Both proposals included underground parking access from 29th Street. Within the underground parking, the previous proposal included 10 vehicle parking stalls, whereas the previous proposal includes 9. In terms of floor area ratio, the previous proposal was just under 1 with approximately 13,000 square feet in floor area, whereas the current proposal is approximately 0.9 with approximately 12,000 square feet in floor area. And then finally, in terms of site coverage, the previous proposal included a site coverage of approximately 42%, and that's been reduced to approximately 40% in the current proposal.
Sorry, Ms. McGuire, can I just stop you on that? You said 12,000 square feet, and I think you meant 1,200 square meters. Or 13,000 square feet?
I was just rounding, but...
oh, sorry, this is the previous proposal.
The previous proposal was approximately 13,000 square feet in floor area. The current is approximately 12,000 square feet in floor area.
Sorry, excuse me for that.
And then here you can see two renderings of the current proposal, and just of note in terms of the design, it does use stone cladding, heavy timbers, and a mix of sloped and flat roof structures. As well, each of the 5 townhouse units includes elevators within them for accessibility, including going down to the underground parking. As well, there's extensive perimeter landscaping that you can see there in the renderings. And then you can also see that in a bit more detail here with the landscape plan. So one of the things of note in terms of the landscape plan is that the existing mature cedar tree that's on the western edge of the site has been able to be, or is proposed for retention. So that provides an extensive setback to the neighbor to the west. As well, with retention of the tree, there's also an outdoor amenity area that would provide amenity space for residents within the building. Also, you can see on the landscape plan, there are new sidewalks and boulevards proposed around the edges of the site on Marine Drive and 29th Street, as well as street tree planting. This slide shows privacy and view analysis that was conducted by the applicant, with specific attention paid to the neighbor to the north. That's the closest neighbor to the property. And you can see the streetscape elevation on the top of the screen there. That shows the view along 29th Street. And what that shows is you can see that row of existing mature trees that provides a screen between the northern neighbor and the proposed development. As well, in terms of the design, you can see the north elevation drawing on the bottom of the screen shows that there are limited upper story windows, there are no upper story decks, and as well, the third level is stepped back to provide, to mitigate impact to the northern neighbor. So one of the things with this project, along with the zoning amendment, there is an official community plan or OCP amendment, and that's really administrative in nature, and it's typical of a project like this. What that would do is it would place the site within the district's other multiple family sites development permit area, and then allows us to evaluate the design against the relevant design guidelines within that development permit area. And staff have reviewed the project against those, and it is consistent with those guidelines, and this slide provides a summary of that, which is also provided in more detail in the staff report. And then in terms of overall policy considerations, the project's being considered under Official Community Plan Policy 2.1.4, which aims to increase missing middle housing options along the Marine Drive Transit Corridor in appropriate locations. So staff have reviewed it against the criteria, and in staff's opinion, it does meet the criteria to be considered under that policy. And then also, in terms of the Sustainable Buildings Policy, the project would be required to achieve the highest step of the BC Energy Step Code, meeting the requirements of that policy. And then finally, responding to the district's public amenity policy, the applicant is proposing a community amenity contribution of just over $660,000. In terms of public engagement, the applicant did host a meeting in December of last year. Generally, attendees were generally positive about the proposal, noting that since notification has been provided of tonight's public hearing, there has been further correspondence that council and staff have received, both in support and some with opposition to the project. So to conclude, staff are recommending that, subject to the public hearing, that council approve the proposed amending bylaws and the development permit as it's consistent with the relevant official community plan policy, which encourages missing middle housing along Marine Drive, as well more generally because it would provide a form of housing that West Vancouver does not have very much of. In a sensitive infill development at the gateway to Altamont neighborhood and adjacent to existing amenities in the neighborhood. As well, the project responds to the sustainable buildings policy and the public amenity policy, providing a community amenity contribution. And then finally, the project would deliver sidewalk and boulevard improvements to enhance the public realm surrounding the edges of the site. So thank you. That concludes the staff presentation.
Thank you, Ms. McGuire. Any questions at this point from members of council of Ms. McGuire? Councillor Cassidy.
Sorry, Ms. McGuire, you may as well be the one to answer the question. So I understand that sidewalks are going to be provided as part of the project. So along Marine Drive on the north side of the street, there is no sidewalk. The sidewalk is on the south side of the street. So from 29th to 30th, how far is the sidewalk on Marine Drive going to actually be? Is it going to, on the north side, is it going to be from 29th to the 30th?
Through the Mayor to Councillor Cassidy, the sidewalk is proposed just for the frontage of the site, so it wouldn't extend the entire block to basically provide that improvement right adjacent to the site.
Okay, so I would say about a quarter of the way down the block, heading west, there's a bus stop. So how will the transition then be from where would the sidewalk end? The other side of the bus stop? And how would it, what's the word I'm looking for? Can't think of the word, but in essence, when you go from one height to another, which would be from the site of the sidewalk to the dirt, how would that be handled?
Maybe I could go to the site plan just to show the landscape plan, to show the proposed design there.
Transition, that's the word I was looking for.
Yeah, it would have to transition to the existing condition, and so I think that's shown to some extent in this, sorry, just trying to scroll through to that slide. So it would have to have a transition where it would transition to the existing boulevard condition and, does provide only a partial sidewalk. So that, the details of sort of the grading of that in terms of how a pedestrian, would transition to that portion of Marine Drive, they are likely still to be worked out at the building permit phase when the works and servicing agreement would be determined at that point. But this shows generally the design of it here.
Okay, so would it conclude before or after the bus stop?
So it does include the bus stop area. You can see that on the site plan there. So the sidewalk would provide that pedestrian access for the bus stop facility.
Okay, and going up 29th, I'm assuming yet again that the sidewalk only encompasses the frontage of the development. And there would again be a transition.
That's correct.
Is that not potentially somewhat awkward?
It does occur in different areas across the district where we are having infill housing occur. One example of that would be Horseshoe Bay, where there are new sidewalks proposed for sites for just adjacent to the site, but it has to transition to the existing condition. So it's something that we do deal with for sites across the district, and it's something that has to get worked out at the detailed design stage and the civil work stage.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks very much. Any further questions, Ms. McGuire? Thank you. Does the applicant wish to make a presentation at this time? Is the applicant present? Yes. Thank you. Is there any presentation you would like to add? Ms. McGuire did do a superb job. Okay. We'll turn it over then if there are any members of the public who wish to address council on this public hearing. Oh, sorry, we have a list and our corporate officer will... Has everybody added their name to the list if they wish to speak? Thank you. Thank you. Let's just make sure you are on the top of the list.
I think I am.
Yes, you are.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Mayor Sager and councillors and attendees. My name is Susan Walker. I am Vice President of the North Shore Heritage Preservation Society. We are about a 300 membership, homeowners predominantly who advocate for the preservation and retention of heritage buildings across the North Shore. So let's talk a little bit about the house that currently sits on the site of 2905 Marine Drive. Now, unfortunately, you're going to have to paint a visual picture in your mind because, unfortunately, we were unable to accept PDFs or other visuals. So, the house was built in 1921 in the arts and crafts style. It sits on 3 floors, 3,000 square feet, and over 13,000 square feet of land. The house is in excellent condition, at least by my visual look and also by the real estate websites that have sold the house in the past. We even have a record of the past owner, so welcome to the Cole residence. So Mr. Alfred Cole and his wife Carolyn lived there. Mr. Cole was the owner of a dry goods store on Fraser Street. Now, having said all that, heritage is wonderful, but we all understand that development is upon us. The question I have is to mayor, to council, to the developer, to planning, why aren't we discussing a heritage revitalization agreement, an HRA, for this property? Where the house is retained and augmented with infill, why aren't we mandating homeowners, developers, to retain first before a building is demolished? So a few statistics, which I'm sure we're all familiar with the issues of climate change and sustainability, but as a bit of a refresher, let me add that if you want to replace an existing building, the standard practice has been demolition. So breaking the house apart and the resulting rubble sent to the dump. The practice results in 4 million tons annually in Canada, across Canada. And typically in a landfill, it takes up 30% of the landfill waste from construction and renovation, etc. The largest portion is wood, and as we know, that decomposes to the potent greenhouse gas methane. So I conclude with the same question: why aren't we reusing our houses and other buildings? For reasons of heritage, yes, but really for the reasons of sustainability. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Ms. Walker. No, this is our opportunity to listen. I'm sure if we do have questions, we can address staff after. But right now, it's our chance to listen.
Thank you, Mayor Sager. The next name on the list is Mustafa Jaharifard. Oh, perfect. There you are, sir.
Mayor and Council.
Thank you.
My name is Farhad Jaharifard. I'm Mustafa Jaharifard's son. He's hard of hearing. So Mustafa and my mother, Marianne, are the owners of 2870 Mathers Avenue, just up the street. They're writing to reiterate their formal objection to the proposed development, which they believe, and I agree, is fundamentally incompatible with the area and fails to meet the objectives of missing middle housing. Previous council denied this, and little's changed since then to merit reconsideration. The purpose of missing middle housing is to create walkable neighborhoods with more affordable housing, responding to the changing demographics of the community. The proposed development does not align with this vision. In 2021, the initial pricing for the smallest unit was projected at $875,000. With GST and property transfer tax, that was close to $935,000. Okay. With most of those units in the initial proposal being significantly more expensive, in the revised proposal, pricing has now changed to the range of $3 million to over $4 million. Clearly unattainable for typical middle-income families and out of step with affordable housing. Okay. The revised proposal shifts the balance away from smaller, more affordable units towards larger, high-end luxury units, each exceeding the size of an average single-family home or duplex. We're talking about 2,500 square feet, which is in essence what the existing house provides, but now there'll be 5 times as many. The location lacks the walkable access to amenities besides a church and tennis court. That would make it suitable for missing middle development. Dunderave, the closest node, is over 1 kilometer away. With Vancouver's climate, you know that most people are going to be driving, especially in winter. Being dark at 4:45, no one's riding their bike 1 kilometer to go to IGA. The proposed development contravenes both the official community plan that exists and the broader objectives of planning and development in the district. I know the district had issues with the province's direction and was forced to agree to it. The proposed comprehensive development zone, proposed CDs, are relatively rare in West Van. There's approximately 80 now. It's inappropriate for Altamont, which has no CDs at the moment. Suitable comparisons are limited to duplexes and established nodes like Horseshoe Bay, Ambleside, Dunderave. The proposed lot is only fit for a duplex, according to the current zoning and Metro 2040 guidelines. The proposal is out of step with the area's established character. The large, high-density design does not match the aesthetic and would significantly alter the neighborhood's landscape, increasing density and straining municipal services. The development's 5 units include 17 bedrooms, suggesting a high likelihood of vehicle ownership and use, as well as accessibility issues. There's a design for an elevator to every unit. The demographic is likely going to be older. With the limited parking and traffic issues in the area, this will increase congestion and compromise safety, particularly along 29th Street, which has been the site of numerous accidents and casualties in recent years. Further, adding vehicle traffic to an intersection already known for accidents, especially near a church and recreational courts, raises serious safety concerns. Economically, the proposed development could impact nearby properties' values. They have an estimated gross assessed value of $112 million within a 100-meter radius, potentially leading to devaluation of property and property tax disparities in the district. The ultimate neighborhood is specifically protected under the OCP guidelines BF-B3, which promotes country estate characteristics, large lots, mature trees, narrow roads, privacy. This development directly contradicts those guidelines by adding high-density housing where subdivision and townhouse developments are explicitly discouraged. The development of this density could strain local utility capacities, already stressed by recent weather events. This underscores the need for careful planning and development and consider environmental resistance and infrastructure limits. I would only add that 25th was recently a river. There's the potential of 29th to be the same thing, and having an underground garage at the terminus of the street will lead to the same flooding that that occurred along the offices in Dunderave.
That's time, sir.
Thank you.
Sir, do you feel that you've had an opportunity to say everything you wanted to say?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Eric Ventura.
Thank you. Mr. Ventura, thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you, Mayor, for allowing us to speak our mind. And nice to see you all again.
Thank you.
So my name is Eric Serpaz Ventura. My company is Vima Deconstruction. About almost a year ago, we did the Jim Pattison house on the right by the water. It was a great success. We had that news that went from Vancouver all the way out to even Halifax. I had ex-military members that called me saying, "Wow, that is really cool what you guys did." We come here as a plan B. We know that we can't stop development. We are part of a different sustainable solution. We just don't want to see homes demolished, especially character homes. It's very difficult to see homes in Vancouver on the Broadway corridor that have history from 1905 all the way up, 1920s homes going down. So what we like to offer is to say there's another option apart from demolition. We can if we can't keep the home on site and fill the home, and if we can't move it, well, then at least we have an option of deconstruction. It's a great opportunity for West Vancouver to continue, being a model for the rest of the Lower Mainland, to really show that this material can go in this particular project can go back into the design of the home. Using lower embodied carbon material is a big advantage. The opportunity are endless to provide this material as well for building. If you guys, if you get a second or a chance to take a look at my LinkedIn profile for Vima Deconstruction and Eric Serpaz Ventura, you can see that we are using material from deconstructed homes to start building homes as well. They come along with prefab prefabricated walls assembly to build more homes. So it's a really great opportunity to, to build a lot more housing with this. So, maybe we're not unable to keep the home, but at least we're giving it a different story. We're giving it a continuation. And to give you a quick example, we're doing a home in Vancouver that was in the news today, the Polka Dot House in Vancouver. Big history there, community history. A lot of the community was very excited to know that it was going to be deconstructed. It wasn't going to be torn down. The neighbors are very happy about it, knowing that a lot of that dust and, materials not going into the air, into the community. So we're not forgetting about the community. We're building on the community. So I think it's just it might be a good incentive to offer deconstruction to to builders in West Vancouver.
Mr. Venturi, I think,
Yeah.
I know, it's got to keep you kind of really on the pros or cons of this development, but we are very grateful to you and your company for the superb job you did with Mr. Pattison's home on the waterfront. We are very proud of that, and I believe, Mr. Bailey, it's fair to say that we are encouraging developers to look for ways to keep homes out of the landfill. We're completely on side with you, sir.
Yeah, no, it's more than enough. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Sager. The next speaker on the list is Reza Shamanara. Mr. Shamanara did provide a written submission, only one copy, so I'll make sure everyone on council gets a copy of this before the bylaws come back.
But,
Mr. Shamanara, is that it? Oh, no comments then. We'll move on to the next speaker, Graham Huget.
That's regarding the next.
Okay, I'll move that over to the next list. Then the final name on the list is Bruno Christensen.
Mr. Christensen, thank you for joining us this afternoon. Nope, yeah, still this afternoon.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council, attendees. So I got the letter, and I scribbled my comments on the back of the envelope. Then I couldn't read it. So I actually typed it out. Let me start with a confession. I am a YIMBY. That is a yes in my backyard. And this particular development is practically in my backyard. I live across the street at 2910 Marine Drive. And I fully support the development for numerous reasons, including, but not limited to, West Van needs density to support business in the community. West Van needs population to replace oldies like me. I often ask people, who do you think is going to buy your home if you don't allow a new generation to come in that want to be upwardly mobile? You think you can sell your home if there's no people to buy it? No one to support your retirement or legacy fund? More importantly, West Van needs an increased tax base. Better to increase tax base because, frankly, we are being feed to death by death by 1,000 fees. Have you checked your utility bill lately? I could stop bathing, drinking water, flushing the toilet, and my utility bill wouldn't change. The current strategy of NIMBYs is to keep kicking the hard costs and choices down the road. With that strategy, real estate values will be depressed because new entrants will recognize that they're going to be facing a tsunami of costs to fund stuff that I didn't pay for. I'm not anti-council. They campaigned for what would get them elected. I voted for you as well. And I applaud council for numerous things that you have done that I have benefited from. Bike lanes, 26th to 30th, and then up the hill, that saves lives. Pedestrian controlled intersection at 29th, one of my favorites. Seawall, instant maintenance, a West Van jewel. Ambleside pickleball and tennis courts. Cypress Village, long-range planning. Other item that council will be happy to tell you about. Thank you.
Thanks very much, sir. Thanks for introducing a new term as well.
Any questions?
This is our time to listen, sir. We don't really ask questions, but we're grateful for your input. Thank you.
No other names, Mayor Sager, for this item.
Okay. Is there, sorry?
Can I ask questions of staff?
Yeah, certainly. If there's a question of staff, please. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, yes. I was just wondering if there have been any attempts or interest from the current developers to look at moving the house or salvaging the house in any way?
Yeah, through the councillor to the Councillor Thompson. As I understand it, the applicant, and if we wanted to bring them up, they could speak to this as well. They have offered to donate the house if someone was willing to. And so that's my understanding. There has been no takers as of yet, but that's something, as far as I understand, they have considered.
Have we considered whether it might be useful for a much-needed youth center? Is it appropriate?
This particular house on this
Yes.
particular site?
Not on this site, but if it was moved.
As far as I know, that particular use, I don't know if they've considered that, but more just generally donating the house. But as I understand it, maybe it would be better to ask the applicant directly. As I understand it, there haven't been any takers in terms of relocating the house and taking it, for free essentially, which is what I understand most of these offers are so far.
Okay. And just one other question is, I can't recall or not, but does the crosswalk from Marine Drive at 29th, does it have a flashing light?
It does. That was relatively recently installed, and there
Okay.
is a flashing pedestrian actuated button there for the crosswalk, yes.
Thanks.
Much needed. Councillor Gambioli, please. Oh, sorry. No, that's right, Councillor Gambioli.
Just a question about the current home. It's not on our heritage list, is it?
Through to Councillor Gambioli, that's correct. It's not on the register.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cassidy.
Yes, so further to Councillor Thompson's remark. So Nickel Brothers, I don't know if you have contacted Nickel Brothers, but they actually have a website, and then you go to the website and you can see the various houses that are for sale on the website. And then what happens is obviously you go to the website, you see the house, and the cost of the house in essence is the cost of moving the house. That's it. So, sir, you're donating the house for free, so give a call, this is me, my process of how it goes. You give a call to Nickel Brothers, say, will you accept the house? And I don't know where they store it or the whole process, sorry about that. And they will move it from your site to the site of the individual who has purchased it. So on 24th and Marine, just beside the Scaldavari's pizza place, or whatever the pizza place is called, there used to be a gorgeous purple house that was there. And a couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago, it was moved to one of the Gulf Islands. So they closed down Marine Drive at about 3 o'clock in the morning and took it down Marine and then took it down 15th to Bellevue, and it exited West Vancouver at that point. And it didn't go alone up to this island off the coast. The individuals who had purchased that house had also purchased another heritage home in Vancouver. And the purchase price of the house, the purple house in West Vancouver, was $40,000. And let me tell you, I was there for the move and I saw that house. It was singularly gorgeous. And I'm very familiar with the house that we're talking about right now. The flooring on it, the oak flooring, is virtually immaculate. So it would be very worth your while for this conversation to save this house, because everything in life doesn't have to be new. And the other point is, everything does not have to end up in our landfill. It's a beautiful home in beautiful condition. It's lived a very happy life where it is, and now it's time, potentially, to find it another home, if that is the will of council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cassidy. I agree. It is a great old house, and I remember playing it as a kid growing up. There we go. I'm now going to ask, are there any other speakers who wish to address council tonight on this public hearing? I'll ask a second time. Is there anyone else who wishes to address council? And a third and final time. Anyone else wish to address council? Could I ask for a motion to close the public hearing? Councillor Thompson, could I ask you to actually read the motion to close it?
Sure. Right there.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll recommend that all written and oral submissions regarding proposed official community plan bylaw number 4985, 2018, amendment bylaw number 5296, 2024, zoning bylaw number 4662, 2010, amendment bylaw number 5298, 2024, and development permit 23-101 for 2905 Marine Drive up to and including the November 18th, 2024 public hearing be received and that the public hearing be closed.
Thank you. And that's seconded by Councillor Snyder. Discussion, I'll call the question. All in favor? Contrary, the motion is carried. We're going to move to item number 4. Just before we do that, I'm going to declare a conflict of interest. Not that I have any pecuniary interest in this next matter, but I did have the great honor some years ago of representing the Pasco Road Homeowners Association, and I have concluded that I couldn't come to this matter, this hearing, with an open mind, and therefore I'm going to declare a conflict of interest and ask Deputy Mayor Linda Watt to take over. Thank you.
Thank you, Acting Mayor Watt. I will just, for the benefit of those in attendance, inform that we are now considering zoning bylaw number 4662, 2010, amendment bylaw number 5361, 2024, and proposed official community plan bylaw number 4985, 2018, amendment bylaw number 5362, 2024. This is regarding the M1 marine zone adjacent to Pasco Road and official community plan foreshore areas policy. Over to staff.
Thank you, members of the public and mayor and council. I'm here tonight to provide a brief presentation on the proposed amendments to the marine zone adjacent to Pasco Road and the official community plan foreshore areas policy. So just for a little bit of background, the foreshore is currently managed under a head lease by the district. This is a head lease with the province since the foreshore is provincial land. The head lease allows the district to occupy and manage the provincially owned foreshore. The head lease gives the district the authority to maintain and improve the shoreline within the public foreshore, control private improvements, those are structures or encroachments onto the foreshore from the adjacent private property, grant and administer licenses for these structures, and use and improve the foreshore for community purposes. So the use of the foreshore by the district is regulated through the zoning bylaw in alignment with the head lease conditions. The zoning bylaw outlines the permitted uses and the conditions of use on the foreshore. So it outlines what's allowed to be there and why, when, and where it is allowed to be. Any approved structures that are placed on the foreshore by a private property residence requires a temporary license with the district under the head lease. This allows the resident to own the structure that's on the foreshore, but does not own the land on which the structure resides. So this is the existing marine zoning and OCP policy that regulates the public foreshore adjacent to almost all of the private property residents along our waterfront property. The marine M1 zone allows anchored floats for swimming, mooring of boats to anchored buoys, or private floats, wharves, piers, and walkways. The point that I'd like to make is under the conditions of use, number 4, it specifies that private floats, wharves, piers, and walkways are only permitted where necessary for practical access to the property adjacent to the foreshore. Staff has interpreted this over time as being if there's other means of access to a private property, then these types of structures are not permitted. So for West Vancouver, the only areas or the only properties that are allowed to have private floats, wharves, piers, and walkways are Eagle Island residents because they do not have road access to their properties. The OCP policy under the environmental section has a policy related to the management of the foreshore to protect its shoreline and significant environmental and cultural features. The one policy, letter B, is restricting private encroachments except where required for access. So this aligns with the marine zoning conditions of use. So to take you over to Pasco Road. Pasco Road is accessed by the Sea to Sky Highway. It's north of Horseshoe Bay. It is a small, steep, and narrow road that goes down from the Sea to Sky Highway. It crosses over CN Rail land, Ministry of Transportation land, as well as a small section going through district property. It's a privately owned road, and there's limitations to improve the access, just given the amount of area on the road that's owned by CN Rail and Modi. So at any point in time, only one car is allowed to pass at any one time. Over time, the residents that live on this property, there's approximately 21 properties along this road, have raised concerns about road access and that it may be inadequate at times of emergency or during an evacuation event. It's also important to note that most of the properties along Pasco Road have very steep topography down to the waterfront, and the foreshore that's adjacent to Pasco Road is not accessible to the public and is not considered usable to the public for community purposes. So based on all of this, there is a notice of motion that was passed on June 24th of this year, where council directed staff to bring forward an amendment to the zoning bylaw over the foreshore to allow access structures for Pasco Road properties, to engage with the province on the bylaw amendment to confirm it aligns with the head lease, to bring forward an amendment to the OCP to reflect the changes in the existing policy that restricts private encroachments, and to define the appropriate access structures that minimize the environmental impacts to the foreshore. So staff have proposed the following zoning and OCP amendments. These are primarily exclusion clauses for Pasco Road properties. So under the conditions of use for the zoning bylaw, there'd be an exclusion clause to allow Pasco Road properties to have structures for access on the foreshore for their areas. And then in the OCP, it would also be the exclusion to not restrict private encroachments for parcels along Pasco Road. Staff engaged with the province this past summer to discuss the proposed amendments and to ensure its alignment or agreement with the head lease or our conditions and obligations under the head lease. Through a review of the head lease by the province, they confirmed that the proposed amendments would comply with the district's obligations under the head lease, and they recommended that any structures that are proposed for the foreshore adhere to various best management practices for structures located in the marine environment. And these include the Navigable Waters Protection Act, as well as the provincial best management practices for docks, and the best management practices for marine docks that was developed by the Akatsam Howe Sound Biosphere Region group in consultation with First Nations in the Howe Sound area. So these best management practices include things like environmental assessments, archaeological assessments, and sustainable practices to ensure that the location of a structure is providing the minimal environmental impact. So taking the feedback from the province into account, staff have prepared an application checklist that was included as an appendix in the council report. If there was a placement of a structure on the public foreshore by a property owner, they would be required to apply for a building permit for this structure under the building bylaw. If the structure crossed over onto their adjacent upland private property, they may need a foreshore development permit as well. And the BP application submission checklist would include all the requirements outlined in our head lease to adhere to senior levels of government, as well as the recommendations from the province that we received this summer. The owner of the structure would also be required to obtain a license under the head lease, which requires the owner to indemnify the district and obtain liability insurance. So subject to this public hearing today, council could consider the proposed zoning and OCP amendments for the foreshore adjacent to Pasco Road, and this is because the amendments do continue to align with the district's obligations under the head lease. Through a building permit, any new foreshore structures will need to meet requirements to minimize impacts to the environment, and the amendments receive no concerns from the province through consultation. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Keith. Any questions from members of council before we go to the public? Councillor Thompson?
Thank you. One interesting thing you said during your presentation is that when it came to the bylaws with private floats and wharves and piers and walking, you said it was staff's interpretation that only applies to homes that have no other access. Is that correct? I think that's what I heard.
That's correct.
So is that illegal and has been reinforced legally as well? I mean,
Sure. Yeah. Through the mayor, yeah, that's correct. We received legal counsel on it, and we've looked at precedent going back a number of decades on that interpretation. I even followed up, just for kind of completeness, followed up with the former director of planning and now co-chair of the planning committee about that interpretation over the years, and that has been for at least 3 or 4 decades the interpretation of the zoning bylaw from a staff perspective.
Well, decades, okay. And it kind of takes me to the other part, to the Navigable Waters Protection Act, because I believe that has a component, and I don't have it with me, I don't know if you do, or know it off the top of your head, that has to do with the right to access safety from the water.
Through the mayor, there are likely a number of components of that act, and safety may be one of them, but they're also about the safe passage of boats and as administered by Transport Canada.
Okay, I'm going to have to read that a little further, but I think there's something in there that talks about the ability leaving the ability to be rescued within outside boating lanes, but I'm afraid I don't know it well enough off the top of my head. Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Gambioli?
Thank you. So I just noticed, excuse me, in the proposed motions here that we're looking at, one is a zoning motion, one's an OCP bylaw. But in the wording in the proposed zoning bylaw talks about allowing private improvements. And then the wording in the proposed OCP bylaw talks about new private encroachments. So I'm just wondering, is there really a difference between an improvement and an encroachment? Or are we talking about the exact same thing? Same thing.
Through the mayor to Councillor Gambioli, the OCP policy says restricting private encroachment except where required for access. And the amendment would be, is the same. We use the same term at private encroachments. Improvements is a term that is used in the head lease wording from the province. It's the same thing.
Okay, so it's essentially the same thing. Okay, thank you. Encroachments. Okay, and so just to be clear, because there's a lot of moving parts here. We're being asked to create a kind of a special zone contiguous with this part of the community. And then we're also being asked to essentially amend the OCP to allow for the zone which overrides the OCP foreshore policy. Is that accurate?
Through the mayor, Councillor Gambioli, we wouldn't be creating a new zone. We'd be creating an exception to a condition of use specifically for the properties along Pasco Road.
Okay, but that still kind of overrides our foreshore policy in the OCP.
It provides an exception to the current foreshore policy.
Okay, an exception is how we want to call it. Okay.
And then just to be clear,
yeah.
Councillor Gambioli, we're also amending the official community plan to make that consistent,
right.
So that it carves out the exception for Pasco Road both in the zoning bylaw and in the official community plan.
Right.
So
okay.
They're aligned.
So then, following from that, I just have some concerns around this being a slippery slope. We went on a boat tour this past Saturday, some of us. And we
Sorry,
saw.
Councillor Gambioli, do you have a question or?
Yep, my question's right here.
Okay.
I'm just explaining some context. So my question is that we saw a number of properties, not at Pasco, but in other parts in White Cliff and Eagle Harbor that had docks and floating docks and et cetera. So my question is, could this be seen, as a slippery slope to encompassing those which I'm assuming are not legal at the moment?
Through the mayor, I don't think that there's a precedent here, if that's what's sort of being implied. Council would have to make an individual decision on any rezoning in any other area in the community. So for example, if you wanted to allow for a similar thing on Radcliffe or on Stearman Beach or around the properties around Lighthouse Park, you would have to do that consciously with the same process. And if council is to approve these series of bylaws, it doesn't create any obligation or precedent to do that in another location.
Okay, but it would be the same process, other households could ask for the.
They could ask.
Same, okay. And someone wrote to us just today to ask us whether anyone from our own West Vancouver Coastal Marine Management Working Group members or the consultant were consulted on this question. So I put that to staff.
So through the mayor, no, they were not.
Sorry?
No, they were not.
So, okay. And, yeah, okay, so that's all I have for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Thompson. Thank you. Just one follow-up question from that. Do we have any other streets in our district that are separated or accessible only by a road or access that we do not own or manage?
Through the mayor, not that I'm aware of. I think it's only Pasco Road.
Thanks. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. So members of the public?
I left the list at the front. My apologies. One moment, please.
Okay.
Oh, here it is. No, I didn't. Thank you. The first name on the list is Chris Brown, followed by Brett Hodson. Chris Brown, please.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor and members of council. I want to thank you and staff for bringing forward this proposal, this proposed amendment, and for recognizing that Pasco, I didn't introduce myself, Chris Brown, I'm a resident of Pasco Road. I live at 8195. I wanted to thank you for bringing forward this proposed amendment and recognizing that Pasco Road represents a rather unique situation. Originally, the properties on our road were only accessible by water. There was no Pasco Road. People bought and built here from the water to be on, in, and around the water, and many of those original cottages and homes are still there. It was only in 1959 that the district granted permission to a single resident for a private road over municipal lands to Marine Drive. That's the only agreement for access out of Pasco Road community to this day. That road was maintained and improved by the residents for years until the Sea to Sky Highway improvements demolished the old road and built a new, long, steep, winding, and essentially single-lane access road along the side of an enormous gabion retaining wall in the narrow space between the highway Horseshoe Bay Drive intersection and the CN railway tracks that are about 100 feet below that. It's a challenging road, and I would say a quite vulnerable one. And neither the province nor the district has taken any interest in maintaining or helping improve the safety of this road. In essence, we sit below a mountain of rock fill placed to build the railway and the Sea to Sky Highway above that, all set against the side of Cypress Mountain. We have no municipal sewers, no gas lines, no snow clearing, and only a single waste collection point at the top of the road. In this environment of increasing focus on resiliency and preparedness, we collectively feel that we are particularly vulnerable to increasing risk of storms, flooding, fire, erosion, landslide, earthquake, derailments, etc. Not to be alarmist, simply to state the reality of living in a situation such as this. We have a road association, the Pasco Road Property Owners Association, which is an entirely voluntary body which coordinates road maintenance and repair, dealing with CN, etc. Recently, our leadership has undertaken to begin the process of developing a more formal emergency plan for our community, communication plan, assembly points, resources, escape routes, etc. It's a bit of a daunting undertaking when you try to consider all of the types of risks that a community faces, especially when you're dealing with a small community of 20 homes. We feel that having the ability to safely retreat to, and if necessary, evacuate by water would be an essential component of securing our safety, and would contribute to the safety of those using the water for recreation in front of our properties as well. This proposed bylaw change would help pave the way for that. To be clear, again, and I think this is, all of our folks seem to be repeating this over and over again, this isn't about building big docks and mooring boats in front of our homes. Conditions along our shore make that type of construction impossible. We believe that the standards and processes that are in place, should anyone decide to try to build a foreshore encroachment dock, pier, not dock, platform of some kind that would facilitate access and egress, that the conditions and standards and processes are in place to make sure that anything that is proposed in the future is done sensitively, responsibly, and to the benefit of all who live there and all who use the water in our community. Thank you.
The next name on the list is Brett Hodson, followed by Giselle Portenier. Brett Hodson. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor and Council. My name is Brett Hodson. I live on Pasco Road. I've been in the greater Howsound area for 30 years and 18 years on Pasco Road. I thought it'd be useful for Council to get a sense of where some infrastructure may have been helpful or useful in potentially preventing a disaster that occurred. This is a bit of a tough story for me to talk about. 12 years ago, I was on my deck with my wife. It was a May weekend. We were, it was the sun had set, and we looked out. We're fortunate our property looks towards Ansell Place and the beach there. We noticed some divers going in for a late night dive at night. And my wife, being a marine biologist of many decades and an avid scuba diver, we took interest in that. About an hour later, 45 minutes or so, we heard screaming from the ocean. Couldn't see out, it was already dark, but we figured it was the divers. So immediately my wife got on to phone 911, and I started yelling at the divers. Where were they? Could we help them? I caught a glimpse of him. I could hear him panicked. He said he had an unconscious diver. He was trying to make it to shore, and I followed his screams. And so I went down several houses down the street to one of the newer homes that had no access to the water, no egress to the ocean, but their lights were on, and so I believe, and it was the first house that the diver would have seen, he was going to where he saw lights and coming to the shore. I had to make a decision. I had grabbed my throw bag and a flashlight, but unfortunately there's a very steep cliff, and I had to decide to slide down the cliff, which I did. Got to him, was able to get the conscious diver tied off, and the unconscious diver I was able to get to, and his head was mostly submerged in the water. Pull it out of the water, turn him around, and then try to give him CPR. Unfortunately, I was working on an area about 1 foot by 6 inches of rock, and I had to try to get into the ocean to try to lift him into my arms. I was successful at doing that, but it was impossible to give him CPR. I quickly determined that this guy was going to die, and sat there for 20 minutes waiting for fire rescue, and I believe it was the boat rescue who finally came first. They did a heroic effort to get their boat into the shore without flipping it. Between them and I, we were able to get the gear off the unconscious diver into their boat, and they took him away to Horseshoe Bay, leaving me with the other diver still bobbing in the water on a rope. And about that time, the fire had dropped their ropes down the cliff and had gotten down to where I was, and then a second boat arrived and took the other diver away at that point in time. And with the assistance of the fire, I was able to scramble back up the cliff. I can tell you, I looked several times in every direction to try to figure out how to get this diver out of the water. Just anything, a staircase, a flat platform, anything to be able to give him CPR. I knew that was the only way he was going to survive. Unfortunately, he died. I tell this story to you because it's real. It happened on our street, and that house, I'm pretty confident, would have had access in and out of the ocean had it been able to be made. And it didn't, and that was the circumstance. Now, I don't know, I'm not an expert whether he would have or not survived that situation, but I know we would have at least had more people down there helping out, and we probably would have been able to provide CPR for at least the 20, 25 minutes it took for others to arrive. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker on the list is Giselle Portenier. Apologies if I've mangled the pronunciation. Following that, I believe it's Paul Sugar, if I'm reading that correctly. Giselle, thank you. You have 5 minutes.
Yes, it is now good evening. So good evening, everyone. And thank you very much for considering our request. We really appreciate it. Thank you for correctly pronouncing my name. That happens very rarely, so I appreciate that as well. I think Brett's story is extremely dramatic and traumatic, but it does point out to the really important point that we have been making, which is that getting this opportunity to get access, egress, and ingress to our properties from the water is really important. We have a number of elderly residents on our road, people in their 80s, people who would have been here tonight, but they have mobility issues, one in particular, who's lived on our road for 41 years. Now, the house that he built 41 years ago is exactly the same as it was then. He has personally, in fact, absolutely no interest in an increase in property values because he's on a small pension. An increase in property values would mean that he would have to pay more taxes. So whenever we propose something that would actually have an increase in property values, he's often against it because he would prefer just to live his life, and he plans to leave egress from his house and the road, feet first, horizontally. That's his point. So when people, when I see in the North Shore News and people talking about that we want docks, nobody wants docks. At our house when we first bought it, and that's almost 30 years ago now as well, the previous owner had built some decks on the foreshore. It blew away the first year, and he built the same thing again, and it blew away again the second year. It's a very rough area there. There is ferry wakes. We have 60 ferries come by every day. There are storms, there's wind, and so on. So as far as I know, nobody wants to build a dock of any kind or have big boats moored there. We certainly don't. And that's not what we want. We want safe egress and ingress to our homes in case of a catastrophic event, which is likely. And the idea that we should leave our houses on foot if there's a giant earthquake or flooding or a fire above our houses, we're not going to be able to go out on foot, especially the many people that we have there who are challenged in that way. And I would like to just tell you that the truth is that people leave our road because they have to, because they are forced to. It's either because they die, or their wife or husband dies, or they lose their mobility, or they get a divorce and are forced to sell the house. These are really the only reasons that people leave our road. People come to this road and they love being there, and they stay there. And so in conclusion, I'd just like to thank you again for considering our request and considering this change in the bylaws. It would mean a lot to us, and not because you want to build any docks or any horrible structures. We'd just like to have ingress and egress. And yes, enjoy the water as well. Go for a swim and go for a paddle. That's a part of it as well, but the safety issue is huge. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Councillor Gambioli?
I've just got a question for Madame Fortinier. Okay, just a quick question, because as I said, some of us visited the locations by sea on Saturday. And, what I noticed was that most of the properties do have access to the high water mark through stairs that are built from either wood or stone or concrete. Many of them have a platform at the high water level. So if you already have a platform or a deck or a stairway to the high water mark, and you're not planning to create a floating dock or have a boat there, what are we talking about exactly? What are we? The only thing I could envision is a temporary set of stairs that would go from the high water mark a few feet down to, maybe 10 feet at the most, to the low water mark, like a set of, metal stairs. Is that what we're talking about? Is that all we're talking about here?
I can't speak for everyone else, obviously. We have 20 houses on this road, and I can't speak for them. I can speak for myself and a few other people that have shared their views with us, but not everyone has access right now. And this would enable people to get that access. And it also legitimizes what people do have, and it makes us feel secure that we can keep that, and we can keep getting in and out of the water in case of emergency. I'd like to ask any of my colleagues here to speak to that maybe when we revisit it, but that's my answer.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next name on the list is Paul Sugar, I believe. It's Paul Sugar, and then following that, the last name on this list is Graham Huget. Again, apologies for mispronunciations. Mr. Sugar.
Hi, Acting Mayor and councillors and everybody else. My neighbors have stated some of their reasons and thoughts, and I don't really have a lot to add. They've taken up all my points that I scribbled here, looking at some of the objections to the changes we would like to see. I guess I'd like to allay some of the fears that we're building some kind of a setting up to build some kind of a deep cove-like thing, or with docks going out and boats moored, and that we might be looking at encroaching on shores that people could use for public access and their own enjoyment. All those things are great, but that's not going to happen at Pasco Road. These are sheer cliffs. I did write a couple of letters, which I believe you all have a copy of. And that's not going to happen on Pasco Road. It just takes one log to come in, and I see them go by, especially when there's a heavy rain. They just smash the hell out of everything. Nothing is going to survive there of any size or whether it's concrete, steel, reinforced, whatever, wood. It's just not going to survive. So we're not talking about developing the shore. And one of the letters that I read talks about docks and deep cove and that kind of thing. It's a whole other circumstance, and I think the idea of precedent and the impact that this might have on other areas, this is pretty unique area, and it's just not going to develop, shall we say. There's not going to be docks, there's not going to be moored boats, piers, and there is no possibility of use of this area by the public. It's treacherous, rocky, cliff-like terrain, and so I think there's been an inflation of some issues here that are not applicable. And the other thing that happens, that will happen, is that West Vancouver still has the power to approve or not approve anything that might be proposed. The riparian is important to all of us on Pasco Road. I don't think anyone wants to see any trees or vegetation go. That's why we're there. And somehow in that article in the North Shore News, real estate values were mentioned as some sort of but that was the quote of a real estate agent, so I don't put much, well, I'll leave it at that. These are elderly, long-time residents. I've only been there 5 years, but I'm not leaving, even though I'm elderly, okay? So I'm just not going anywhere. And yes, as Giselle said, sure, it's nice to have a kayak you can put in the water. That's a lovely part of being there. But we're not looking at anything more, development-oriented than that. So, thanks for listening. Thanks for considering.
Thank you, Dr. Sugar.
And the last name on our list is Graham Huget, I believe. Thank you, Council. My name's Graham Huget. I'm the owner of a renovation and design company called My House Design Build, and I'm here representing Jim and Christine Hogan, who reside at 8055 Pasco Road. They have written a letter just to give me permission to speak on their behalf, which says, Dear West Vancouver Council, Reeve Foreshore, my husband and I, Jim, Christine Hogan, have been property owners on Pasco Road for the past 25 years. And due to a renovation taking place at our home at 8055 Pasco Road for aging in place renovations, Jim and I are not able to live at home and unable to attend this meeting. Grateful to give this opportunity to Graham Huget, willing to be here on our behalf. So just a couple points. They bought the house in 1999. In 2006, the existing deck that had been there on record since prior to 1973 was repaired. So when you talk about doing repairs and remediation work, that was an example. It was done so under a building permit, which apparently was lost in either a fire or something to that regard here at City Hall. The water access decking was replaced and for safety purposes. And other than that, the deck has maintained its exact same size, and we don't have any intention on increasing its size. This, we'd ask, over the past several years, have been frequent fires, and the road coming down the hill for us is very, very steep, and since Pasco Road's an old road, one lane dead end, there's only one way out, and this could create a death trap for us. We are in our 60s and early 70s, and currently the renovation that is being done at our home by permit is being held ransom. So you asked about, Councilwoman, you asked in terms of what is this about? Is it about a staircase? They just want to maintain their existing deck. And West Van City Hall has said they must remove this deck. So they've given permission to leave the deck in place until their renovation is finished because West Vancouver recognized the deck could be used for a barge, which it has been, to bring in concrete, because concrete couldn't come down the road, it's so narrow, to bring up materials for the aging in place renovations that are taking place at their home. But before the final inspection is going to be granted, they have to remove their existing deck. So here's an example where it's not about building anything big. In fact, the Hogans own a dinghy and a kayak. And that's it. They have no desire to increase size. They have no desire to have anything except maintain what they have, which they spent money on when they moved in 25 years ago to upkeep. And so they just want to maintain that deck for safety and for the close enjoyment. And if you took a ride on a boat to that area, you'd be hard pressed to come close to the shore, and you would not see any large boats in that area. It is strictly for access for these residents, and including the Hogans. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public that would like to speak? Thank you.
Deputy Mayor and all the council members. My name is Sunny. I'm a resident of Pasco as well. I just have my couple points and my personal experience. What I understand is any policy what we have, the councils have a power to do so. I think have a reason. I think Pasco, we fortunately live in beautiful West Vancouver, a unique West Vancouver. I think Pasco is one of them place beautiful and unique. I think, Pasco Road used to be just water access only community. And I have the road access for backup only. But now we have a backup single lane, still the single lane. Now we lost the water access. Pasco Road have no use for public because there's, just like my neighbor explained to it, there's no safe access, there's no place for them to enjoy. So they're totally different than Deep Cove and other place. And from my personal experience, I noticed any people want to put money, think about big market, they're not putting dollar there because the single lane, I heard people go in there, they turn around, they say, wow, we're not going there because they're only single lane. They're kind of scared of driving down in there. So only people love the area, enjoy the environment, want to live there for a long time, they stay there. And my personal experience, one of my sons is autistic. He's very brave. He always goes to the ocean by himself, no matter what. So I think 1 year ago, during a storm, he's still going. At night, he went down there. It's freaking out everyone. Just like Brian mentioned, the safety side, I don't know what to do. I just called 911. Thankfully, the whole West Vancouver rescue team there, they're so great. But they have a challenge to get down there. My son just clipped down to go to the water. And the wave was like 2 meters high. All the rescue team, they just, they have a struggling to get down safely. I think for us, it's not for, I think safety is number one, for everyone in mind, right? Especially for my family. I was constantly, and West Van Rescue Team, they're wonderful. Every time we need them, they're there, right? But I think have a proper access. Like you said, see the cross, see the Pasco Road from the sea. You can see the evidence. Every property have something exist. That means their water access property before. And also you have evidence see that being leftover, they're not safe access. It's not updated. It's dangerous actually, right? It's not improper. And also, if it's say, for me, I feel like if people travel to BC, take the ferry go, when they look at Pasco, this is like a place they've forgotten, right? It's not beautiful. And just next line, because Pasco is pretty unique. Like West Van, I think our Pasco Road is the last community for the West Vancouver. But you go further down, the community all have water access for a reason. And the Pasco is especially important because Pasco have nothing public, just for those 20 residents in that property. That's all I was going to say. Well, thank you, Deputy Mayor, and thank you all the councils.
Thank you.
Sir, I apologize. For the record, could I have your name, sir? I didn't catch your name at the beginning.
My name is Sunny.
Simon?
Sunny.
Sun.
Sunny, Sunny.
Is that your last name, sir?
Last name Sun, first name Sunny.
Thank you. Perfect.
Thank you. Any other members of public that would like to address council?
It's Patrick Mitchell, and I'm from Pasco Road at 8235. So I won't go into too much detail, but again, thank you very much, Council, for hearing us out today. And a lot of the points that my fellow neighbors have said, I'm not going to reiterate, but just to really reinforce that with the waterfront that we have, it is treacherous, it is jagged and rocky. And I know some of the letters or emails that were sent in comparing us maybe to Deep Cove is a little bit of a different situation because that is where it's truly a beach, and maybe those docks and platforms that came out were restricting access from the public, whereas in our instance, there is truly no beach there, and it's jagged, rocky foreshore, and then to actually build a structure or a dock off there, it's very challenging, if not impossible, because of the sheer state of the drop off of the sort of cliff and the land below that water. So our wish here is, again, from safety aspect and the ability to get to the water in a safe manner, and then be able to have some sort of platform or area to stand upon in case and in need of rescue. So it's not looking to put a massive boathouse or structure and a dock to have boats on. It's a matter of the ability to have safe access to and from the water, and not also to build structures to restrict access from the public. As far as I know, and I've only been in Pasco for 4 years, I have not seen any people coming down for public access to the water, nor the ability for them to be impacted by such structures being built. On a different note, in regards to just access on the road, it is a challenging road, 1 lane, single lane, as we've talked about. I myself, last winter, in a couple instances, which is more about the road clearing and challenges that we face and we take care of on a annual basis, is not even able to drive out last winter due to snow, and not able to leave the road for, I think it was a couple of days. And that's my wife and I in our own 4-wheel drive vehicle. And then one day, one of our neighbors, elderly, I found walking up the road with his walking sticks because he was not able to drive out himself. So I obviously pulled over, picked him up, and brought him to the top of the road where he was meeting his son, because his son could not get down to pick up his own father. So these are just some of the instances and situations that we deal with on a regular basis and we take care of on a regular basis, because at this time, and we've talked about it earlier, is the road is not sort of being maintained, managed, or assisted with on a regular basis. It's up to us as the owners. But again, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I've got the same, could I just ask the same question? Could you just, sorry, just the same question to you then. If many of the properties already have a platform of some kind, let's call it, whether it's wood or concrete or stone, at the high level, high water mark, then what are you, and you're not going to build docks with moored boats, what are you asking for?
So I can't speak for everyone. I can speak for my property. I do not have a platform. I do not have any access to safe ingress out of the water. So it would be a platform in my instance. So I can speak to myself and to my wife and I. So that is, if you get to the bottom of where we are, it's absolutely treacherous, like in the ability to get in and out of the water. So even if we were trying to look for safe water rescue in the instance of a fire, a flood, an earthquake, down trees, not the ability to get out any other way, it would be very tough to then evacuate us from our particular property.
But the platform could still be on your property.
Nope, it could not. It would have to be below our property.
It would have to be below your property.
Below an area where we can get to be either brought to a safe place to be evacuated.
Okay, I can't quite visualize that.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cassidy?
Okay, thank you very much, everyone, for your presentations. And Mr. Brown, thank you very much for the tour yesterday. It wasn't the first time I visited, but it did open my eyes to a situation. So somewhat like Councillor Gambioli, I'm rather confused as to what you're looking for. And so to begin, our jobs as councillors, I mean, there may be an immediate issue, and there may be individuals who do not wish to proceed with structures on the waterfront, but our job is not to look at today. Our job is to look at the ramifications of the decisions we make today. So each and every one of us are not going to be living in our houses in perpetuity. Sooner or later, we're going to go either to the great beyond or to another form of housing, whether we like it or whether we don't. So I'm looking towards the future and the ramifications of others who may occupy that street. So when I went on the
Do you?
I am about to have
do you
a question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much, which is the reason I was giving an explanation for where I'm coming from. But thank you, I do appreciate the interjection. So to the staff, when I did my tour, my walking tour yesterday, I was unaware from my previous tour that in the middle of the block or the street, there's actually a public right-of-way, a pathway down to the water, comes down, crosses a property, and then there's a series of stairs down there with a handrail. The stairs are wooden and also concrete with a handrail down, and at the bottom of the stairs there is a concrete structure, a landing platform. So is this district land?
Through the mayor to Councillor Cassidy, yes, it's a park. It's called Sampson's Park. I believe it's a district property, but it also says the ownership may be the province. So yes, it is public land.
So as West Vancouver Land, are we not responsible for the maintenance of that pathway and the standard and quality of those stairs?
I would imagine the Parks Department manages that.
Okay, well, it didn't look like it, but anyway, so halfway down the block, and this is my point, why can that not be used as a muster point for all these various households to exit in the point of a rescue operation, as opposed to 20 homes individually waiting for someone, because they're not going to have wharfs, decks, docks, or boats, so somebody is going to have to come individually and rescue them. So why not use that from a district perspective as a muster point?
So theoretically, through the mayor, theoretically, that is possible as a muster point. The motions that are on the floor now are what were directed by council in the previous notice of motion about looking at the M1 zone and changing the uses.
But again, much like Councillor Gambioli, I'm very confused. If there's all these docks and decks, or we'll use the word decks, not docks, in place at the moment at a high water mark, what are we looking at? What is being wanted to be constructed on the foreshore?
So through the mayor, the zoning would allow for a number of different things, including piers, floats, walkways, and pathways, I believe it is, from the RS zone, the upland portion, down to a portion probably closer to the lower low tide mark as opposed to the high tide mark.
Okay, so in essence, right now, there is a point of rescue mid-block on that street, and it is the responsibility of West Vancouver to maintain that pathway. That's the question.
Theoretically, staff would maintain that pathway, and we would look at different priorities within the community. Typically we prioritize high use, high population locations for maintenance, but that is something that we could follow up with in terms of the ongoing sort of maintenance of our capital with the Parks Department.
Okay, and to the gentleman who was faced with that incredibly difficult situation, in the dead of night, any diver who would go there, I don't know what point they entered the water, but is there any opportunity that we could put a light at the end of that concrete platform? So for anyone in difficulty in the waters, for any reason, they would know that this is a safe point of exit out of the waters. It is well lit in the evening.
So through the mayor, we could explore that with our Parks Department, the installation of a light.
Right, because even for these individuals who are wishing to be rescued, escape, or whatever this terminology would be, in the nighttime, it would be lovely to have that pathway lit, solar power, whatever, and the end of the dock also be it. And I wasn't on the tour yesterday or Saturday, the boat tour, but this is another question. Is it not so that our search and rescue operation out of Horseshoe Bay is perfectly capable in high tide and low tide rescuing people from Pascoe Road?
Through the mayor, I'm not going to comment on behalf of the search and rescue group.
I can comment on that as I was on the tour. So as it was explained to us, They want the access to go all the way down. So we were out at high tide, but it's important that at any tide they can access somebody who would be coming down the ladders.
Oh, did the North Shore Rescue not say that at any tide they could rescue people from that road?
They can if there is access from the property down to it, but they can't rescue, obviously, if the access doesn't go all the way down. That's how it was explained to me. Councillor Gambioli?
Thank you. So I had a different impression of how it was explained to me, but I'll add that in a minute. But I also took a bunch of photos, which I circulated from the other day, Saturday, because Councillor Lambert wasn't there and Councillor Cassidy wasn't there either. And I forwarded them to staff, and I was hoping that we could just call those photos up so that we can just sort of agree on what we're talking about here, because it was very enlightening for me to go on this tour, and I do think the staff who took us out, and I think it would be important information for all of us and the public to see what we're talking about here.
With the permission of Acting Mayor Watt, can we share the photos?
Sure, thank you.
So again, I'm not, the greatest photographer, but we were out at high tide, so that we could agree on. My understanding is that the high water mark, for example, in this photo, would be that sort of dark gray or kind of slightly greenish line that's just a foot or two above where you see the ocean water. So, in other words, for example, this stair structure and sort of, I guess I'll call it a patio, or for lack of a better word, so is built on the property, I'm assuming, and then further stairs go down to essentially the high water mark. So that's one example of just sort of what we're talking about. And then, so that would, the example there and here would be the egress, does take almost every household down to the high water mark. This one looks like was built a much longer time ago. There's a little park bench, and then there's a sort of a wall that's been built up with stone, and I guess there's a platform there, and then there are stairs, again, almost down to the high water mark. And there's a whole bunch more photos, but they're
I think we've seen.
So, and then there's a couple more that are, so for example, this one would have stairway coming down from the house. You can see how the cliffs are very, 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 very steep. There's a sort of a patio structure partway down, and then really close to the water line, there's a concrete area that's been, walled up and reinforced. There's a building of some kind. I guess that's kind of storage or
Councillor
something.
Gambioli, we can see all that in the images. So in the interest of time, can we?
Okay, sure. It's just that it's
abbreviate
very,
this?
very close. They're all very close to the high tide line, high water mark. So there was one more that showed us actually with the boat going up onto the rock, because they wanted to show us how effective the boat was, which I thought was great. And the volunteer staff of the rescue boat were able to jump off the front of the boat onto one of these platforms because it was high tide. But anyway, what they told me was that it would be no problem at low tide either, in this case, to find a place to come up on the rock face and to rescue someone who was one of those platforms or one of those sort of concrete areas. So that's the information that I was given. And I just think, so I'm still confused about what is being asked for here, because it looks like most of the properties already have.
We are.
No.
Yeah, this isn't time for debate.
But that's my question.
Can we give Councillor Snyder a moment?
I'm not clear on what's being asked for still.
To the best of my understanding, and I will refer this to Mr. Bailey, to the best of my understanding, not all of these have been sanctioned by the municipality, and it is in the interests of maintaining this access, am I correct?
Just through the mayor, I mean, just for clarity, what's being asked and which council directed is that we bring forward an amendment to the zoning bylaw to allow for, an exclusion clause for access encroachment for Pasco Road property. So that would be allowing structures, piers, wharves, floats, walkways into the foreshore, which is the M1 zone, which is the zone below the high water mark.
Thank you. Councillor Snyder. Oh, sorry.
Okay, sorry. So if there is one more photo that was done and showed the North Shore Search and Rescue, because this is an issue of the ability to rescue people from this street, could I please see that picture, please?
Through the acting mayor, I would suggest that this be reserved for the next council meeting at which this will be coming forward for consideration of readings. This is the opportunity for the public not to debate the bylaws.
All right. Thank you very much.
Councillor Snyder.
Thank you, Ms. Dallas. That was my comment as well. This is not the place for debate. This is for us to hear from the public. And just to clarify, I was on the tour as well, and we were actually told by the search and rescue if it was low tide, they would be able to do a rescue if they were able to get the person down to their level. If there's no stairs down to the low tide level, they may not be able to get anybody down there. And that was what I was there as well. And that's
Councillor Gambioli, and can we keep it brief in the interest of time? We're running over.
Absolutely, but I agree. Of course, public hearing is a time to ask the public what they think, but it's also a time for all the information to get out on the table, because if we close the public hearing, we cannot create any more information, we cannot ask any more questions, we cannot talk to the public about it, and if we don't have all the information, we can't close the public hearing. So if we don't want to close the public hearing, that's another whole story, but if we do want to have all of the relevant information to make a decision, we need to do it now.
Can I say something about the tides?
Absolutely.
The tides go from 2 feet to 15 feet.
If you could have a seat at the podium so that everyone can hear you from my side. Thank you, sir.
You know, this thing of tides, depending on the time of day and depending on where the moon's at, the tides actually go from like 1.5 feet to like 15.5 feet. And that's like 14 feet of water. If you look at any of those pictures, you'll see that the low tide mark, and that's why I understand why the rescue people would say we couldn't get there in low tide, because at low tide, it's impossible. So, and that's true for most of the things that you showed up there. So, I mean, the fact is, it's hard to get a boat in there, and I'm not saying that the rescue people do not have talent and ability and equipment. What I'm saying is that it's not always the case, and that failure is very easy to come by.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
The structure that you need between the high water mark and the low tide mark, what is the structure that you're asking for?
I think we need to have a stairway or a small 5x5 deck somewhere at the low water level.
So underwater twice a day. You want to
well, I don't know. I haven't thought of it because mine.
Sorry, I'm going to interject. Sorry.
Councillor Gambioli, we are running out of time, and there's other members of the public as well.
May I make one comment, Acting Mayor? While council cannot receive additional submissions from members of the public after the close of the hearing, council is able to request clarification or follow-up from staff.
Excellent. So we'll do that in the meantime, between now. Yeah, I'm aware of that. Thank you. Yes, you can come forward.
I've been asked to give clarity that in addition to talking about adding a deck
anyone who has a deck there now, if they do any sort of renovations that require a permit, the city of West Vancouver will hold them ransom to remove their existing deck. So it's not just about adding more, it's removing existing decks that are already in place, that have already been in place, and some for more than 50 years.
Thank you. Oh, sorry, Mr. Bailey.
Sorry, just through the mayor, that's not factually accurate. We do reserve the right to withhold occupancy permits. That hasn't been our practice. We have attempted that in one occasion, I believe, where people have built structures on the public foreshore without permits or without permission. There are other things like, we can use Section 57s, but we don't hold people for ransom. We follow due process in applying our building bylaw to achieve compliance with our zoning bylaw and our building bylaw, just to be clear on that.
Okay, thank you.
I understand some of the council's concern. I think using the standard saying the search and rescue can be there, reach how high or low. I think like any condo, so we have to have a fire exit, right, for safety. So we're not always depending, the firefighter can reach that 20-story high, so we don't need, exit road or stair to get out.
Yeah.
So my personal experience, when my son jumped in the water in that storm, how long it takes search and rescue to get there? It takes a long time. From the land to the sea, right? Take a long time. So when the firefighter went to our house, go down there, they can't even reach down there. And take another 30 minutes from Horseshoe Bay, the search and rescue boat to be there. So I don't think that's give people saying like your search and rescue can be there or reach their height will be enough for the safety of the residents for possible. Thank you.
Thank you. And just to clarify, we were on the search and rescue boat on Saturday, and it's a few minutes from there. They typically, once there's a call, it's about 12 minutes, they said, from getting in the water to out. Right. But anyway.
But my personal experience.
Oh, okay.
My son at night, they called, take the boat at least 30 minutes to get there.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further questions? Okay. So I think we're going to wrap this up. Oh.
No, sorry, can we please have a motion to adjourn? This is not the time to engage in debate with members of the public.
Thank you.
I just want to say that West Vancouver still has the right to oversee everything that might take place.
Yeah. Thank you. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to close. Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, I'll do that.
I'd like to recommend that all written and oral submissions regarding proposed zoning bylaw number 4662, 2010, amendment bylaw number 5361, 2024, and officially community plan bylaw number 4985, 2018, amendment bylaw 5362, 2024, regarding M1 marine zoning adjacent to Pasco Road and official community plan foreshore area policy up to and including November 18, 2024 public hearing be received and that public hearing be closed.
Thank you. Second? Thank you. All in favor? Thank you. And a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Excellent. Thank you. That concludes the public hearing.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for joining us. Sorry we're a few minutes late tonight. We had a public hearing that went over a bit. Please be seated. And as we said at the beginning of the public hearing, I hope everyone's had a chance to read our acknowledgement to our First Nations friends in the Squamish and Tsleil-Waututh. And I'd like to call this meeting to order. Just before I do, I'm happy to report that we will be officially opening the Place for Sport on December 10th. And we, along with the school trustees, the province of British Columbia, and all of the countless citizens in this community who have donated their time, money, and energy to create this beautiful facility. I don't know if you've been up to see it, but it is fabulous. Now the running track, due to the weather, they have to put the rubber track down on dry days, so that hasn't completely cooperated. But we thought rather than holding off on the opening, because the field and everything is very useful, that we would go December 10th, and I see one of our trustees here, and thank you. Also, if you've walked by our front entranceway, and you look down into what was rather vacant, void space, you might notice that we're about to open a lovely coffee shop run by Savory Island Pie Company. And this will be open to the public, and we strongly encourage people to come and make use of this facility. If you noticed at the front door, we have welcome mats now, so that the municipal hall, which is owned by all of the citizens of West Van, can enjoy this space. And I'm quite hoping that it'll become like a little piazza, like we're in Italy, where the municipal hall is right above the piazza, and everyone gathers and has thoughtful conversations. So that will be open in a very few days, so please stop by and support it. So with that little introduction, may I have a motion to approve the agenda? Councillor Watt, please.
Yeah, I'd like to recommend that the November 18, 2024 regular council meeting agenda be amended by adding to item 3 written submissions, C1 to C3 regarding proposed development variance permit 24015 for 1735 Inglewood Avenue, and replacing for item 5 the document regarding the proposed Finance and Revenue Advisory Committee Terms of Reference Policy 0183, and that the agenda be approved as amended.
Thank you. Councillor Thompson.
Second.
Discussion, question. All in favor? Contrary, carried. Item number 3. Do we have a presentation? This is a very exciting opportunity.
I do have a short presentation.
Thank you, Ms. McGuire.
Vancouver Football Club as well does, just to
I
I'll try and be
recognize.
brief and leave the presentation for them.
Thank you.
So thank you. So proposed for consideration tonight is a proposed development variance permit. So that's for the West Vancouver Secondary School site, specifically 1735 Inglewood. And what it would allow is installation of a sports bubble facility at that site. So here you can see on the right-hand side of the screen there, a site plan showing the overall site. As I'm sure council is aware, it consists of 4 properties owned by the West Vancouver School District, includes several buildings located on the site, including, as the mayor mentioned, the track and field facility known as the Place for Sport that's currently being replaced on the northern portion of the site. And then you can see in the photo on the bottom of the screen there, the existing boulevard trees that are well established on the eastern and western portion of the site that shield the facility from the surrounding residential neighbors in the area. So here you can see a rendering of the proposed sports bubble. The project is coming forward from West Vancouver Football Club, and it would construct the inflatable sports bubble that you can see there on the rendering of on the screen, and relocate existing paths and retaining walls and create space for an outdoor practice field. So here you can see a site plan showing the location of the proposed sports bubble, shown outlined in red there. It's proposed to be installed on a currently unused gravel field immediately south of the Place for Sport facility and west of an existing parking lot. The proposal does require zoning variances, and that's why the development variance permit's necessary, and you can see those summarized here on the table. They're mainly for height and for location of the sports bubble facility. And just then in terms of public input, prior to tonight's consideration of the permit, staff gave notice to surrounding owners and residents within 50 meters, consistent with the development procedures bylaw. And as of, I think about 3:30 this afternoon, I think council had received 3 pieces of correspondence with some questions about traffic and parking issues in the surrounding area, but that was the extent of the correspondence received. And so to conclude, we are recommending that council approve the proposed development variance permit as the inflatable sports bubble facility would be located on this well-used West Vancouver secondary school site. And also generally because the project has been designed to minimize its impact to the surrounding neighbors in the surrounding area. So as I said, I wanted to be brief so we could leave the time for West Vancouver Football Club to speak, and I know they're...
Well, it's wonderful to see representatives of the West Van Football Club here. Would you like to join us with any part of a presentation? And we are very grateful to you and all of your members for the work you do to support this great sport in our community.
It's pretty great, isn't it? It's pretty great. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Good evening to everybody here and to those who are attending online. For those of you who are not familiar with us, we are West Van FC, your local friendly soccer club. We have some directors from our board here tonight, our project manager, our architect, and most importantly, several of our players and parents here with me this evening. Do I have a presentation? All good, because I want to click something, and something awful might happen.
To scroll up and down, you can use the wheel.
Is there a slideshow? No, it's just like this. Okay. Okay. So if you don't recognize this name and logo, you might recognize this one. This logo we've had for almost 50 years prior to 2019, and I've added this photo simply to demonstrate that we have been playing down at Ambleside for a very long time. This photo is taken in the mid-1930s. You can see the fantastic cars and the men with their funny hats. And we know that West Van played on these fields in the Mainland Challenge Cup in 1915. So we really have been playing organized soccer in Ambleside for over a century now. We're here tonight because we're asking for your support and approval of the variances required to build our bubble with an indoor weatherproof field on the gravel lot below West Van Place for Sport. Our bubble will be the only weatherproof field in the municipality, but we will not be the only one on the North Shore. In North Vancouver, the North Shore Girls Soccer Club already have a bubble at Windsor Secondary that they have owned and operated with great success for over a decade now. And in short, we want one too. The players from our club that would benefit from our bubble the most are our youngest players. We have approximately 1,600 plus players in our club this year, and over 600 of those are the Little Lions and the Minis. This is the under 5 to 10-year-old age group. This same age group participates in spring break camps with over 200 children attending. There are also approximately 800 plus 11 to 18-year-old players who would benefit from developing their skills in clinic-like settings in the bubble. And finally, we also have our adaptive soccer program, ages 5 to 12, with approximately 30 players at this time.
Can I interrupt just before you go to the next slide?
Yes.
Can you go back to that slide for a minute?
This one?
Is that Mr. Bailey in that photo? No? Sorry.
That would
It's
be
not
good,
very
though.
clear, but...
That would be good. Yeah, I should have gone looking. Should have gone looking.
Different club, but you coach, don't you? Oh, there you go. Sorry for that interruption.
No, it's quite all right.
Wasn't clear photo, so don't take it either way.
All good. Over the past 2 decades, our club has entertained the idea of building an indoor turf facility, and the idea has come and gone. 2 things, though, have become apparent over the past 5 to 10 years. One, we're plain sick and tired of playing in the cold, wet weather. We didn't have many photos for these slides because nobody takes photos of miserable, sick, cold children. Our Little Lions don't have a lot of body fat, and they get cold very quickly, very easily. Children that are soaking wet and miserable lead to parents that are equally miserable. And just one really horrible session can turn a child off soccer for the rest of the season. We've seen it. We know this to be true. Sadly, this means that many of these children are now staying warm and dry indoors, and I'm pretty sure they're all playing video games or doing social media on their computers and iPhones. In the 2020 pandemic, we had to rethink some of our programs, and we also had to start to think about new ones. When one of our directors pointed out that we weren't properly addressing our neurodiverse players, we started an adaptive soccer program that summer, and it has been very successful in the summer. It would be so much better if we could hold the program on indoor turf in the fall and winter. Our neurodiverse players really struggle with extrasensory overload. Wind, rain, and cold are especially difficult for children with sensory processing challenges, and we need to be able to provide them with an environment where they thrive. We were getting closer and closer to deciding that this was a really good idea, and what tipped us over the edge was when we asked other sports groups in West Van if they would be interested in using our facility if we were actually able to build it. The answer was a resounding yes from all the groups you see here, and our hope is that some of these groups might start adaptive sport programs of their own. Autism BC even took the time to send me a proper letter and said, and I quote, that an indoor turfed multi-sports bubble would be an excellent step towards making community sports in West Vancouver more accessible for all, including neurodivergent kids. We would be excited to see West Vancouver take this progressive step, and it goes without saying that all of us at West Van FC would be very excited too. This concludes my presentation, Your Worship, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have at this time. And I also have a project manager and an architect who can
Thank you
answer
very
more
much.
technical ones.
Are there any questions from members of council? Councillor Cassidy.
So, may I ask, please, and by the way, I think it's an excellent idea. So,
Thank you.
for starters, so all my questions are not coming from a negative perspective. And I was one of those parents who stood out there many years ago in a filthy October day, Saturday afternoon in the pouring rain, and I said, that's it for me. And my son went to swimming, where I could go at the crack of dawn with a cafe latte, warm and fuzzy, and he could swim his little heart out, but he was always clean, just to let you know. Anyway, so just out of curiosity, are you leasing, renting the land from West Vancouver, or, because I know you probably pay to use the fields, or I'm assuming you pay to use the fields down in Ambleside?
We pay to use the fields at Ambleside to the
Okay.
district of West Vancouver. And our time and the bubble, we are setting up a joint use agreement with the
Okay.
school district
Okay.
to outline their hours of use and ours. We have exclusive use outside of school hours, so the Pro D days, the weekends, the evenings, all of that is ours.
Okay. And so is this going to be a user pay model? I'm assuming in essence it is for yourselves, but for these other clubs that you referenced in your presentation, will they be on a user pay model?
Yes, when we sent the note out, many of them submitted LOIs, letters of interest, outlining how many hours a week they might be interested in renting the facility from us if that was something we were going to do.
Okay. And should there be any damage to this bubble, are you the one financially, your organization, financially responsible for the maintenance, or is that going to be the school district?
No, it is us.
It's yourself.
The school district is responsible during their hours, and this is being drawn up in the joint use agreement, so they will probably have their own custodian and things if something awful happens during the day while they're using it. And then we have a custodian to take care of evenings and weekends.
Okay. So in a user pay model, would you be keeping the money from the other individuals, the other entities that are using the facility?
It would go to our operating fund, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councillor Gambioli.
Yeah, the question just occurred to me about the roof. Is this an all-year situation, or does it come down like the tennis club in the summer?
No, it's all year. It will be air-conditioned in the summer, so if we have another heat dome event or something like that, we can choose to move children from Ambleside possibly, so we don't have some of the heat stroke situations
We
we've
can
come
all
close
go
to
there.
experiencing. We can all go. Please, feel free. The more the merrier. Bring your cleats.
Okay, all right, interesting. And as Councillor Cassidy said, I think my 2 kids would have maybe continued with soccer if we'd had this after their first year. We received one piece of correspondence today, I know, relating to some concerns in the neighborhood about traffic and parking and safety. So I guess it's a question for staff. How does that get handled at the staff level?
Yeah, through the mayor to Councillor Gambioli. I mean, with the facility itself, the use is permitted in the zone that the West Vancouver secondary school site is within. So it's not really a question of a new use being proposed. And so the zoning variances themselves really don't have anything in particular to do with sort of traffic and parking issues that may, be associated with the site generally. That being said, we did work with the applicant to respond to questions that our engineering team provided, and they have provided a study looking at the site, and that is still ongoing and would be expected to continue at the building permit stage in terms of any potential improvements that could be made to improve traffic and parking with respect not just to this but the overall site in between the school board and West Vancouver.
So really, I mean, the issues for us to decide tonight are these variances, one which is the straddling of the 2 lots, and the other is just the fact that the roof is almost 3 meters higher than the current bylaw allows, which would be normally.
That's correct.
That's the specifics for the variance permit.
That's really what we're talking about here. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Watt.
Yeah, thank you. My apologies if it was in the report. How long will it be fade resistant for?
Oh, that's a good question.
25 years.
25 years.
Wow. Thank you.
Thank you. And now I will just ask if there is, I'm very grateful for your presentation again and all of your work. I'll just see if there's anyone else who wishes to address council.
Yep.
Thank you, Mayor Sager. We do have 2 names on our speakers list. The first is Rod Day.
Yes, I recognize former councillor and friend Rod Day. Great to see you this evening. Thanks for joining us.
I was just up at the Place for Sport today, and I must say it looked really good.
Doesn't it?
And, I live on Sinclair Street right nearby. We were kind of worried it would be intrusive and noisy, but you've done a marvelous job, and really we haven't been adversely affected by it. And a little bit of noise from, it's thought of WorkSafe with these crazy sirens, the backup sirens they have that they won't turn down, but that's not your fault. And basically we lived with it very well, and it's a beautiful facility. I like it very much. So
It is.
Congratulations.
It's ahead of schedule and under budget.
You've done very well. I just really have a couple of questions about the bubble. I'm not against it, but I just a couple of questions, if that's all right. I think it's a good idea. I mean, you're right. I mean, my kids, being one of them was playing goalie, and they get soaked. I mean, it's terrible. So it'd be nice. I think it's nice for the kids. I have a little bit of concern about this so-called practice field to the south. This comes closer to our neighborhood than all the other facilities. It's just next to Sinclair Court and Sinclair Street, and it could be a source of noise and disruption, particularly if it goes to 10 o'clock at night. So we would appreciate it if you could find ways to keep in mind the neighborhood here, and perhaps have the younger kids play there, or I don't know, they call it a warm-up field. I don't know exactly what it'll be, but and lighting, I would rather not have lighting on that. It's that sort of practice field to the south of the bubble that concerns us a little bit.
Well, I'm glad we have a member of our school board here.
Yeah, I saw
because it is controlled. The hours of use would be controlled by the school board, not by council.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's. I guess the other question I have is I know this whole project goes back several years. It's not new. It's been there all the time, and I think it might have been nice if the public had known about it in the neighborhood, because it was always in the cards. This is not just happening. And it does increase the size of the project considerably, and the traffic and various other problems. And I would just say, generally, it's nice to consult the public of these things and let them know the whole story. Having said that, I'm not opposed. I'm not terribly upset about it, but it's just a thought. And I guess the other question I have, when does it get started? How long will it take? And how's it being funded?
Thank you. I understand they have some generous benefactors, but I will ask that question. We'll hear if there's other questions, and then I'll bring the soccer club back to answer your questions.
Okay, so shall I go back to my seat at this point then?
Awesome. Thank you.
I have some thoughts about paid parking, but
well, that's another subject.
I know I'm not going to say it now. But I apologize in advance for coming up here so long. I don't usually do it.
Oh, it's great to see you, and you are always welcome in this hall. Is there anyone else who wishes to address council? Thank you.
Mayor Shiger, I do have one more name on the list to join via WebEx, but the person has not yet joined. So we are at the end of the speakers list.
Thank you. Could I ask you just to help me answer former Councillor Day's questions? When would it start, and when will it finish? Sorry?
Funding.
And the
Yep.
funding, yes, no.
Do you want to take this?
I'll help you with it.
Okay, which one would you like to help me with? Not the funding.
You
Okay.
do.
Okay, I'll do funding, and then my project manager will take the next piece. We are working, in terms of funding, we are working with a well-established foundation, and their funding would allow for the full completion of the bubble, the whole thing. We will then seek additional funding for the auxiliary components of the entire project, which includes the washrooms and the training turf. However, we are cautiously optimistic that if our budget stays within what we'd like it to stay within, the warm-up turf could possibly be completed all in one go.
Wonderful.
Okay.
And now
Okay,
thank you.
start and finish. Over to you.
Thank you, councillors, and thank you, everyone here. So the question about construction start and duration of the construction. So we're targeting March start as long as we can get our permit in place. So that's where we're hoping to get started of 2025. And it's an approximately 8 month to build.
Wonderful. Eight months to build. Councillor Cassidy.
Again, how much is the bubble? I'm asking this from a curiosity perspective.
Yes.
3 million.
3 million, okay. Thank you. And approximately what size is it, please? Width and...
It's 120 by 40, no, 60.
Tiny font.
Yeah. It's not a full regulation field. It's meant for the youth.
It's around 26,000 square feet.
26,000.
And the toilets are going to be inside, I'm assuming?
There's a facility outside, right
Okay.
next to the bubble. That.
Okay, so this is a point of curiosity. As you know, we're having the track up top. Is there going to be any opportunity that should we have others who are in dire need of your facilities, that they could be using those as well?
Sorry, thanks, Nelson. We need 2 chairs, Nelson, we could have tangoed. As it currently stands, no. My understanding is West Van Place for Sport has a set of washrooms
Okay.
right next to the track, and the school district has explicitly asked us to have washrooms at the bubble itself. So it would be difficult. You would have to walk through the bubble, I think, at this time. So I'm going to say no. Without having the whole facility built, it's, and under operation, it's hard for me to say for sure. But my understanding was that there were washrooms up at track level for West Van Place for Sport people. And then the washrooms that we had to provide would be exclusively for the use of the bubble.
Okay, so in many ways I wasn't sort of asking permission, I was just sort of saying there may well be that overflow, which is under no control of ours, that may well wish to use your washroom facilities.
Absolutely, yeah. We are aware that many people may come by and ask for that, or we might have people on the warm-up turf. It's one of those things. Operations and logistics will deal with those items when we get there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks very much. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. Is there any chance you can pull up a map of the site again? Or is that
would be yours.
And the reason I'm asking, Mr. Day, expressed his concern around the impacts of the practice field on his neighborhood, and I'm curious about where his neighborhood is oriented towards that. I also know in the past we've had some concerns from residents of Kings Avenue, which used to be a through road, and it's now blocked, and I believe will be. So I'm just wondering, you've got a parking here. How many cars does that fit? And are you reducing the current capacity for parking in that area?
That's not our parking lot. That is the school district parking lot.
Okay.
And when, they would be ready to pave and orient it how they see fit now. However, they're going to wait until our project is done because they're concerned some of our construction works might alter and damage the asphalt. Mm-hmm. So in fact, I can't answer that question for you. The school district will be assuming responsibility for the parking lot. Our facility, like the North Shore Girls, is intended to be spectator-free. The young little Lions will probably have parents with them when they come, but we are very much looking at a drop-and-go scenario. They do it at North Shore Girls Club with great success, and we would like to do the same thing here.
Have you got a drop-and-go circulation plan, or is it?
Again, we're waiting for our traffic study, and then we're waiting to see what the school says and where they'd like us to be. My understanding is that they might like us parking on even the lower level from that, and this would only be a drop-and-go for us. But I cannot confirm that for you. I'm sorry, Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. And then just back to Sinclair. So where on this map would the neighborhood be impacted by your lower practice field? Thanks. Yes, thank you. That's a good map. So if that's a site location, you're concerned about the Sinclair Court, is that right? Oh, sorry.
They're closer together than they look. There's Sinclair Street, where I live, about halfway up. And then there's the Lawson Creek, and then the Sinclair Court. And we hear a lot of noise from tennis courts, which is part of the school, and this is the way it goes. So we would hear noise from that playing field. I don't think we would from the actual bubble, because I'll be indoors. I used to be remember the West Bank Tennis Club, and you're in there and you don't hear any noise outside. It's really that playing field. And even that, I think, might be all right if you don't have, 18-year-old guys out there at 10 o'clock at night sort of thing. If there was some control over it, I think it would be all right. And we realize it's overall a good facility, and it's good for the community and for young people. But we do live there, and whatever you can do to make it acceptable for us, we appreciate that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councillor Snyder. Could I ask you for a motion, please?
I apologize, Mayor Sager. We have a few more names on the speakers list.
Sorry, please.
Okay. First of all, the online participant has joined, but I know you prefer to hear from in-house first, so we'll go to Alan Howie, and then following that will be Ryan Wiebe. Mr. Howie.
Mr. Howie, thanks for joining us this evening.
Thank you. I'm here with some of my neighbors. We are on Kings Avenue, so there's about half a dozen of us. And I think you brought up the concern. First of all, I think it's a great idea. I played soccer. I'd love to have played indoors. It looks great. The track looks great, but we have some concerns. So where we are, we were probably 51 meters away because we never got a notice, but our neighbors did, and they said you might want to come and talk about it. So, we've just been through 12 months of construction. And on Kings, anyway, maybe on Sinclair it's different, it's been loud. And it starts before 7 o'clock, 7 a.m. I'm going to say 6:30 many mornings and goes till sometime 7 and 8. So it hasn't been without some sort of noise. And so the worry, I don't know what's involved with the bubble, so maybe that's something we can hear. It might not be the extent that we had with the field, but we had a heavy-duty equipment. Tractors, trucks, rumbling, beeping as they go backwards, on and on and on and on. So I assume this is something that's a little less intrusive to the neighbors, but the prospect of another 8 months it's not something I'm doing cartwheels about. But the bigger issues, I think, are, which were brought up earlier, one being traffic. Our street is, I measured it yesterday, it's at 18 or 19 feet wide, Kings Avenue. It used to be a throughway, and now it's just, you guys have blocked it off. But you can still walk through to the track. And right now, with the school and with KMEEK, we have parents and others dropping their kids off, parking. You can't, there's no cul-de-sac, so it's like the 5-point turn to get around, blocking things off. The worry, of course, with the track is, well, that problem's probably going to get worse, not better, I don't think. And if we had a soccer bubble, what will that do? So a lot of concerns about traffic and the ability for people to get to this facility and to the track properly and park. So I have some questions about, if KMEEK is full, if the track is full, if the soccer bubble is full, where are people parking? And are they going to be using our road? They're going to be using other roads. So those are the two sort of bigger issues, and as well as just general noise, which I think was brought up as well. But that's sort of our concern, and I think some of our neighbors share the same thing. We'd like to know more. My own view is, I think let's absorb what we're just building, a beautiful track and field. There'll be a whole bunch more traffic and people using it. Why don't we see what happens after a year or maybe two? And if it's no big impact, then maybe we can talk about expanding the facility. Thank you very much.
I've got to be honest, I thought everyone on your street would be thrilled with the fact that the street was closed. And
we're really happy about that. We're really happy about that.
Yeah,
but it's still, I will tell you, we saw it tonight as we were waiting to walk down here. We saw somebody drive down, and they were trying to pull the barricades up so they could get through it. So people still use it. They don't drive through it anymore, but they still use it to pick up and drop off. And oftentimes they sort of park and idle while their kids are doing something and wait for them to cut through and join. Of course, there's a lack of parking on that street. Like our house, we have parking for one car, so we have to park out front. And many times we can't park in front of our house because people are parked there for, KMEEK or other things.
I honestly think the easy suggestion is just ask for resident-only parking signs on your street.
We have resident-only parking signs. And they're ignored and not enforced.
This will be brought up on our next topic.
Thank you.
Got it. Thank you. Next discussion. Next individual, please.
Thank you, Mayor Sager. I just promoted Ryan Wiebe. You should be able to turn on your microphone and your camera if you wish. You've got 3 minutes to address council.
Yeah, I'll keep my camera off. It's been a long day. My name is Ryan Wiebe. I'm part of the North Shore Minor Lacrosse Association. I fully support this bubble. I think it's a fantastic idea. I had some technical issues there, and I missed the section where they reached out to certain associations of usage for this bubble. And I was wondering, is this something that we would be able to utilize as well, too? We have a lot of kids like U7, U9, young kids, that, especially with field lacrosse, they're outside in this weather. And it's hard to get the numbers up with the parents, to drop them off in the field when it's pouring rain outside. So my question to them, is this something that our association would be able to utilize or rent as well, too? Because currently we only have one field in West Van, and that's Amble side, and it's probably one of the worst kept fields out there right now that has lacrosse lines. And then the only other one is Sutherland in the district North Vancouver. We have doubled our numbers, and we are looking for more real estate. So I would love to be able to participate in this bubble. And my question is this something that would be allowed with the soccer club?
Thanks very much. And we have the president of the soccer club who's going to answer that question.
Hi there, Ryan. This is Ruth Burr, president of West Van FC. Just as a general FYI, my youngest son, Corey, junior A lacrosse player with the Burnaby Lakers. So I am a huge lacrosse fan. And yes, we actually, I don't think you were associated with the club at the time when we went out, but there's no doubt something like lacrosse would probably be a really good fit for this bubble. And we'd be happy to talk to you when the time comes and ensure that you have some nice warm space, because I know you do some really great camps with the really, really young children, and I think they'd love being indoors.
Thanks very much. Any further questions, sir?
No, that is good. Just kind of on that note, we had a successful merger with Burnaby this year for our field team, and we're sending some kids to provincials. So, I appreciate that, and I look forward to your reach out. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much. Are there any other?
No further speakers.
Thanks very much. Councillor Snyder?
Yes, so actually some very interesting remarks, comments, obviously some concerns in different areas. Again, just a reminder that tonight all we're dealing with specifically is just strictly the two variances. So there are a lot of things that can still be followed up on outside of this evening. But so that being said, I'd like to recommend that all the written and oral submissions regarding the proposed development variance permit 24-015 for 1735 Inglewood Avenue, up to and including the council meeting held on November the 18th, 2024, be received for information.
Is there a seconder? Thank you. Any discussion? Question? All in favor? Contrary? Carried. Thank you.
And I would like to recommend that the proposed development variance permit 20-015 for 1735 Inglewood Avenue, which would allow for a proposed accessory structure, inflatable sports bubble with variances to a maximum permitted height and proposed siting, generally as per proposed plans, be approved.
Thank you. Councillor Watt, thank you. Discussion. And I would just like to say to the people who live on Kings Avenue, we did make a commitment to close that street during the construction, and I think we're going to keep that closed, and I'm quite confident we can find other ways to address the issues on that street. I'm very sympathetic to their concerns. Any discussion? I'll call a question. All in favor? Contrary? Carried. Thanks very much and good luck. Thank you. Thank you. Item number 4, Ms. Muller. It's okay. With regards to item number 4, we were going to have a discussion this evening about expanding pay parking. Actually, I'll just let everybody leave here for a moment. Yes. Well, we could receive the report for information, sure. But either way. We were going to have a discussion this evening on a staff recommendation regarding expansion of our pay parking, and by pure and complete coincidence on Friday, I was contacted by a fellow that years ago I did work for a large international company, and the fellow said, I've got somebody who, he's now working for a company that has state-of-the-art parking technology, and I've told him if there's one place in Canada where you might want to test this, it's West Vancouver, and I was flattered and complimented, felt flattered by that offer. It is a parking system used in many states in the United States. And I had breakfast with this gentleman, and he told me the outline of it, and I thought, wow, this sounds incredible. And I wanted to have the presentation made to all of the members of council, but they were all, or most of them were out on a boat tour of the coastline, and I knew they couldn't do it. So I called Maureen O'Brien, who is the executive director of the Ambleside Dunderap Business Association, and I asked her to join me, and we met at 10:30 here, and we had about an hour and a half presentation. And what we saw, and I would actually ask Ms. O'Brien to make a comment as well, it was such a game-changing technology that it could really address a lot of parking problems throughout our community. And I believe it's very worthwhile for council and, in fact, the entire community, everybody who is interested, to participate. Ms. O'Brien has kindly followed up. Can you join me? She very kindly followed up for me with the president of the company, and maybe you could give your thoughts and what they've committed to do.
Sure. Yeah, I appreciate the invite, and it was so informative. And I left there feeling like this is a solution to all of our parking problems. The parking, the lack of enforcement that we have in the business area, as well as council and the community's concern about the parks and how many visitors that we have come here, including even the resident pay parking. There's just so many different options that this company has, and it is so state-of-the-art and not done anywhere else. It's as he said, I think there's 8 parking companies in the world, and they're number 8. The other 7 are kind of all the same, and then this one's different. So I really do encourage all of you to take the time to have a meeting, do a Zoom. I did reach out to them, and he called me today, and he's willing to come in and do a 30-day pilot in Ambleside Park to show how it works. No charge, but it would give us real data to see how much cars are coming and going, and also in our commercial area. They put in these cameras that will track people coming in and leaving. So for Dunderave, for example, when they drive into Dunderave, they've got 2 hours to be there, and if they don't drive out, they get a ticket. So there's no monitoring. It's all done through AI, modern technology, and very, very impressive.
So I would hope that the gentleman would come back.
They're ready to do whenever you guys say.
Okay, so I would ask, we'll find a date if members of council agree. What I'm asking members of council tonight is to simply delay consideration of this, just adjourn this item until after the presentation. And I would like it to be set up in a public place where anyone who is interested can come and see the presentation and look at the technology. When we look at pay parking, there's so many different aspects. One of the problems we have in the commercial areas is people driving there, parking all day, and going somewhere else. And that's a serious problem. This would address it.
It would address everything.
It really does.
Yeah,
and
it does.
And there are a lot of buildings in our community that have commercial buildings, I'm very familiar with one, where the parking is underutilized, or even if it is utilized heavily during the day, it's available on weekends. Ms. O'Brien and I went down to Ambleside, and we stumbled into one of the parking garages that had about 100 empty spaces.
Didn't even know it was there.
And didn't even know it was there. And the street parking's all full. And there's no reason in the world that people who work in Ambleside couldn't be parking there and freeing up other spaces. So this technology can help address all of these issues. And I'm grateful for your time and effort, giving up your time on the weekend, and hope that you could help facilitate
I'm happy to do it, and I truly do feel like this is the silver bullet. I do.
Thank you. Councillor Gambioli.
So thank you. That sounds like a very fortuitous proposition. So I look forward to hearing more about it. But I would like to move forward with the whole concept, which is going to take a while to implement regardless of the management system and enforcement that we use. So I'm just wondering why we wouldn't accept the report for information, why we wouldn't recommend where the revenues are going, and why we wouldn't make the recommendation related to engaging other landowners, because I'm sure that the AI system doesn't do that, and et cetera. The AI doesn't write the policy or prepare the bylaws. So I'm just wondering why we would want to put all of that off when we could be getting going on it.
Thank you, Councillor Gambioli. I certainly see no reason why we couldn't do the first 2 motions. We did commit when we did this that the money would be used to support parks, and I think it's appropriate that we move that aspect forward. I should just also add this parking system is so manageable that one of the commitments I know many of us on council feel strongly about is that parking, there should be no charge for residents of West Vancouver. And this would be an opportunity. This system would allow that kind of control because people in West Van, really, they've already paid for the parking. So could I see no issue if I could have a mover and a seconder on the first item, which is to receive the report for recommendation and that the monies be used for parks as we committed. Councillor Cassidy?
We're talking about, please could you be specific? We're talking about October the 1st?
Yes, the first
recommendation, the first
and
two
the
under
second.
that.
Yes, the first two.
All right, because I do have a question about the I guess that's the third recommendation.
The one thing I would say is the third recommendation is that we would need to hire a temporary full-time parking coordinator. This program would eliminate that need.
Okay, so that one and the fourth. And my comment with respect to the fourth is the word engage. So frequently when we contemplate the term engage, we end up going down the rabbit hole with Alice. And so I would prefer that another term be used, which would be inform the school district, with respect, of course, and BC Hydro and the Squamish Nation. If we engage them, the word seems to almost evoke that we're going to go into a consultation process with these entities. I think what I would like done is to inform them with respect.
Well, Councillor Cassidy, the only thing is that this new, if this system works as it may, I would hope each of these other bodies would participate as well. I don't see why they wouldn't, and I would like to invite them so we could have a real community discussion.
No, I don't see why they wouldn't want to, but it's just the use of that one word. To my mind, and I can be completely off the rails, it evokes the concept of consultation. When you engage somebody, you're bringing them into, shall we say, a conversational consultation process. No,
Okay.
there's only a percentage is their land on, and I fully recognize that. So, and obviously it is theirs to either come along with us, which is their choice, or not, as the case may be. So.
Thank you. Councillor Watt.
So I see in there engaging with the Squamish Nation, West Van Schools, and BC Hydro. But what about business owners, the ADBIA, and residents
Again,
nearby?
we're really getting ahead of ourselves because if this company is prepared to come, do a test case here, do a full community consultation with us, with all of the business community, and any citizen who's interested, then we're really, as Ms. O'Brien said, we're really ticking every box here. So, I would ask Council's consideration to move recommendations 1 and 2, and table the balance until after the presentation. Okay, so Councillor Cassidy has moved the recommendation that the report dated October 1st, 2024, from the Director of Engineering and Transportation Services and the Deputy Municipal Manager, Director of Parks, Culture and Community Services, titled Pay Parking Expansion Be Received for Information. That's the first motion. And Councillor Cassidy, you moved that? Yes. Thank you. And Councillor Thompson, would you second that? Thank you. Any discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor? Contrary, carried. The next part is that net revenues from the Pay Parking Program be used to support district parks, culture and community services. I would say, I know that's the name of the department, but we did make a commitment that the money raised in the parks would be spent in those parks, and I think we must keep to that commitment. Councillor Cassidy?
Yes, most definitely, and I will support that. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Thompson. Any discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor? Contrary, carried. Now could I ask for a tabling motion for the balance, please? Moved by Councillor Snyder, seconded by Councillor Lambert. No discussion on tabling. All those in favor? Contrary, carried. And again, we will keep the community. Ms. O'Brien, I'm sure you'll help to get the message out to the business community, and we as the municipality will do our best to ensure that the general public is made aware of the presentation and the test pilot when it occurs. And I hope we haven't oversold this, but boy, it certainly seems incredible. I'll move now to item number 5, our proposed Finance and Revenue Advisory Committee. Councillor Watt, please.
Yes, I would like to recommend that the proposed Finance and Revenue Advisory Committee Terms of Reference Policy 0183 be approved.
Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you. Any discussion? Councillor Gambioli.
Yeah, just a few questions. The committee, sorry, this is a new committee in addition to our Finance and Audit Committee of Council. So just to be clear for the public, and I would like to just ask a couple question of staff. We've got somebody, oh yes, we have some finance staff here.
Thank you, Ms. Gordon. Thanks for
Not
sticking
just-
around tonight.
Not just some finance staff, sorry, the Director of Finance, Ms. Gordon. So just wanted to have the thoughts from staff about the mandate of this committee related to this sort of two-pronged approach of revenue, of advice about revenue and advice about finances, budgets, and financial plans.
Your Worship, through you to Councillor Gambioli, my understanding is that the committee is going to basically represent expertise from the community and are going to advise council on possible new sources of revenue that council might consider. And there will also, they come with some considerable experience in business and so forth, and so they would be looking at the district's budget and expenditures and making suggestions for possibly different ways of managing those things.
Thank you, Councillor
And,
Gambioli.
sorry, just, I was trying to think of a better word, but it doesn't come to mind. Okay, so there are, according to these terms of reference, 9 volunteer members with, quote, significant financial and business experience. I've got a concern around that not being a little more focused in terms of having some people on this group that have some experience in municipal finance. What does staff say about that idea?
Your Worship, through you to Councillor Gambioli, there actually are not very many people that have experience in municipal finance. So one of the concerns that I raised when this idea was first brought forward was that finance staff would probably have to spend some considerable amount of time educating the volunteers on the restrictions and boundaries in which municipalities have to work, because we are quite constrained in terms of, for instance, what kind of investments we can make, how we can go about managing operations and so forth. However, you know, I'm certainly prepared to provide that support to the committee as long as we don't end up with a whole another set of reports to prepare and a whole another set of work for the current finance staff to do, because in fact they are fully employed in trying to get the district's budget together, bring forward the information on the budget to the Finance and Audit Committee, to the public and to council. And so I've been assured that there will not be a great impact on the finance staff. And in terms of educating the group, if I might suggest, I did write a textbook on municipal finance, so I wouldn't have any difficulty forwarding that.
I'll be happy to buy a few copies.
Well, it's absolutely free, Your Worship. It was used as it's used as course notes at Capilano University, but they are agreeable to having me distribute it to those that might be interested. And, you know, I have only met some of the members of the committee once. I've had some that have asked previous questions. They are interested in municipal finance, and like I say, there's not very many people that are. So it happens to be one of my areas of enthusiasm, so I'm happy to support it. Again, as long as we're not asked to do a lot of research and provide a lot of extra data, so that staff would have to.
Ms. Gordon, that is my commitment to you. I'm as conscious as our municipal manager is of the time constraints on our staff. But what I can tell you is that the first meeting that the members had with you, and we do have people with very senior government or quasi-governmental experience at the very senior levels, I can say that after meeting you, they felt we were in very good hands. And
thank you, Your Worship. I appreciate it.
I think when I did this job in version 1, we established a similar type of commission, and they generated fabulous ideas that lasted for a long time and set up what I think were very sound financial plans. And I suspect this group has the same capacity to throw in some new ideas, and we'll find out.
Sorry, from the conversation that's just been had, it seems to me that the committee's already been set up, but we haven't created the terms of reference yet. So can someone explain how these 9 volunteer members are going to be recruited for this committee?
Sorry, just so it's clear, I did invite a number of, I asked members of council for the names of people that they felt had significant experience. I recognize one gentleman sitting in the audience tonight who I asked, and he declined. I picked a couple of people that I know with significant financial experience, and I set it up as an informal roundtable on finance. And with the help and direction of our corporate officer, she convinced me that we would be better to have it established as a formal committee. That wasn't how it started out, but you won the argument, and I'm following your advice. And so there we have it. Thank you. Councillor Gambioli, any further comments?
I just really think that if there are people in the community who are available who have municipal finance experience, they should be encouraged to apply to join this committee, because I think that regardless of the people who have already been recruited for this committee having no experience, you know, anytime a new person comes on a committee, we have to start all over again, and our staff have to explain it all again. And, you know, these are terms of reference that could be in place for 10 years. And so it's not just these 8 or 9 people that we're talking about. It's maybe, you know, dozens and dozens of people over the years. So I think it would be really helpful to be a little more clear and have some depth of knowledge on this group if possible.
Well, certainly if there is anyone, we have an opening. So if anyone has former experience, on our planning commission, we brought back Steve Nichols, a former director. I wonder if George Horwood, our former director of finance, is around. I'd give him a call. And is there any further discussion? Councillor Cassidy.
So the expectation of this committee, not necessarily the members of the committee, but the committee, it would continue through successive council terms.
Well, that's certainly my hope, but that would be the committees are always at the will and discretion of council. If we found or members of council were not satisfied with this committee, it can be terminated at any time.
Okay, so no, what I'm meaning is the members of as the committee is currently composed, those individuals may be excellent candidates, do wonderful work, but through potentially the process of time, the caliber of the work or the quality of the individuals may be diluted. So where would we stand there? I guess I'm asking you to
Sorry.
forecast the future.
You are, and
Yes,
Ms.
all
Hope,
right.
do you have? Ms.
Thank
Dallas,
you, Mayor
sorry.
Sager. So the way the terms of reference are currently written is that the membership is for a 2-year term, and then at that point they would be eligible for reappointment. The council committee procedure bylaw does have a term limit. I think it's 3. 6 years. 6 years. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any further discussion? May I call the question? All in favor? Contrary, carried. Thank you, and thank you, Ms. Gordon, for your willingness to work with these great people. Item number 6, I'll turn it over to Councillor Snyder, please.
Yes, thank you. This is for the adoption of the proposed zoning bylaw, and I'm recommending that the proposed zoning bylaw number 4662, 2010, amendment bylaw number 5339, 2024 be adopted.
Is there a seconder? Discussion, question, all in favor, contrary, carried. Item number 7, the modification, this is for the short-term rental. Councillor Gambioli, please.
I will recommend that, excuse me, third reading of proposed bylaw notice enforcement, bylaw number 4368, 2004, amendment bylaw number 5358, 2024 be rescinded.
Second.
Is there any discussion, question, all in favor, contrary, motion is carried. Councillor Watts, contrary. Thank you. Councillor Gambioli.
And recommend that proposed bylaw notice enforcement bylaw number 4368, 2004, amendment bylaw 5358, 2024 be modified at section 3.1 to delegate 6 guests and replace it with 8 guests, and proposed bylaw notice enforcement bylaw 4368, 2004, amendment bylaw 5358, 2024 be read a third time as modified.
Thank you, Councillor Snyder. Question, all in favor, contrary, carried. Councillors Cassidy and Watt, contrary. Thank you, Councillor Snyder. Or did we do it?
And that, you want me to
Oh,
read it?
sorry, Councillor Gambioli, I'm
Okay,
sorry.
That third reading of proposed municipal ticket information system implementation bylaw number 4383, 2004, amendment bylaw 5359, 2024 be rescinded.
Second.
Discussion, question, all in favor, contrary, motion is carried. Councillor Watt recorded a contrary. Thank you.
And recommend that proposed municipal ticket information system implementation bylaw number 4383, 2004, amendment bylaw 5359, 2024 be modified at section 3.1.1 to delete 6 guests and replace it with 8 guests. And proposed municipal ticket information system implementation bylaw number 4383, 2004, amendment bylaw 5359, 2024 be read a third time as modified.
Thank you. Move seconded. Discussion, question, all in favor, contrary. Councillors Cassidy and Watt, contrary. Thank you. We'll now move to the consent agenda items, and Councillor Cassidy asks that 9.5 be pulled. So could I have a motion on all of the other
I will recommend that the consent agenda items as follows be approved. Items 9.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.6.
Thank you.
Second.
Question, all in favor? Contrary, carried. Councillor Gambioli, could you also move 9.5 then, please?
Mayor Sager, I apologize for the interruption. Just so everyone knows, we do have a member of the public that signed up to speak to 9.5, Peter Miller.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Mr. Miller. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you, Mayor and Councillor. I'll be very brief. It's just a little matter concerning the access stairs down to the present beach access. Just after we had our first bit of media interest and we were interviewed at the top of the steps on October the 11th, somebody vandalized the handrail. And I waited a little bit to see what was going to happen. I presumed somebody would replace it. It didn't get replaced. So I'm sorry, on August the 8th, we had the interview. That night, the handrail was this handrail. this handrail. Here.
Maybe you could just pass it around and we could look
Well,
that way.
it's very simple.
Okay.
Just so that people who aren't familiar with it. And it makes it possible to go safely down those steps. So as I say, it was pushed over, thrown into the bushes, and after waiting a little bit, I phoned the Parks Board, the Parks Department on October the 11th. And October the 17th, actually, and today is almost exactly to the day, 4 weeks later, nothing has been done. At that time, when I phoned, I was very pleased to get a response. Oh, certainly, thank you very much for informing us. We'll send someone over there tomorrow and check it out. And I just bring it to your attention that it's still in a dangerous situation.
Thank you. The person that you couldn't have brought it up at a better time, because the person who can do something about that is sitting right behind you. And look at her. So there you go.
Perfect.
And given her track record of getting things done, I bet something happens.
We do know each other. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you. And with regard to 9.5 at the, actually, can I just get a motion first? Did we have a motion on that? She did pull it, but a motion to approve it. She just pulled it so she could vote against it.
Oh, I see. Okay, I see.
So could I have a motion to approve 9.5 as written?
Right. Well, I'm voting against it as well, but
Okay, well then I'll ask Councillor Snyder
Okay.
if he would be.
I'd be happy to recommend the 9.5 as written.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Watt, thank you. I would ask also, with this, we did, or at least I did make a commitment that we would ensure during our term that the new pathway was constructed. And I would appreciate if you would consider entering a motion after this, directing staff to take all reasonable steps to ensure that the new access is completed within the next 2 years. But I'll call the question first on 9.5, and then the two members of council who wish to vote against that can, and maybe they'll support my subsequent motion. So all those in favor? Contrary? Councillors Cassidy and Gambioli opposed. The motion is carried. Councillor Snyder, would you be kind enough to make that motion?
Yeah, I'd like to recommend that we direct staff to commit to
take all reasonable steps.
The construction of the new pathway on the east side of the property to be dealt with in the next 2 years.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Cassidy, are you seconding that? I need a seconder then first. Councillor what? Seconded. No, Councillor Cassidy, thank you.
So this pathway is to be built regardless of the cost?
Yes?
All right. So is that going to be part of this motion,
No, is it-
regardless of the cost?
The motion is to build the path. That was a commitment we made.
But regardless of the cost?
Regardless of we have the funds, I can't imagine it costing anywhere near the amount we.
Well, frequently something can happen that you find, for example, we didn't have a geotechnical report. Something could happen that it become prohibitively expensive, and a decision be made that, sorry, it's the cost does not warrant the access.
Well, I'll ask our municipal manager if he has any thoughts on this. You've heard the motion. Is it clear enough for you to direct staff to get this done?
I will certainly direct staff, if there's a direction tonight, to proceed as the council wishes. I cannot give you any guarantees of the cost. We do not have that assessment done as yet, but we will forthwith try to ascertain that and keep council advised as we carry on with that project.
Thank you. I mean, we did make a commitment, or at least I did, and I think it's shared by many that we know that the new owner of the property is building the first 3/4 of it, and there's about 1/4 we're responsible for. So we've made.
Not that I wish to belabor the point, but the last quarter is the tricky part of the path. And if we have made a promise to the individuals in this community, never mind the individuals in this neighborhood, that we are going to build a path, then I want to give them the assuredness that we are going to build the path regardless of the expense.
Well, I share that thought. So does Councillor Snyder. I think the message is quite clear. This path is going to get built. Okay, may I call a question on that? Sorry.
Can we have that please put in the wording?
Is that a friendly amendment? Yes, that's accepted as a friendly amendment.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Seconder accepts. Friendly amendment. Okay, I'll call a question. All those in favor? Contrary? Councillor Gambioli. Motion is carried. Now we have an additional motion. Ms. Dallas, just with regards to item number 10, this was a motion I brought forward as a result of meetings with Collingwood and the Glenmore community. Again, following out of a development that was approved in the Glenmore neighborhood. These are items which both the school and the local community support. Is this by notice of motion, or is this a motion we can move tonight?
This is a motion that council may move tonight.
Thank you. Councillor Cassidy, would you like to make this motion?
Yes, I would very much. I completely empathize with the various issues that are being experienced by the individuals living in this neighborhood. So recommended that at the October 28, 2024 document from the Collingwood School Task Force titled Glenmore Neighborhood Improvements, forming part of the November 18, 2024 regular council meeting agenda package, be received for information. And 2, staff be directed to explore the proposed improvements and report back to council on feasibility and cost estimates for the following. A, new gravel sidewalks on the west side of Glenmore Drive between Morven Drive and Glenmore Drive. B, new 30-kilometer-an-hour speed zone on Glenmore Drive between Morven and Deep Dean Road. C, new speed bump hump and new crosswalk on Glenmore Drive at intersection with Cleveland Dam Trail. And D, new speed hump at existing crosswalk on Glenmore Drive at intersection with Baden Powell Trail.
Thank you. Could I just ask that you would consider also adding to that, and that these items be paid for out of the community amenity funds generated by the development recently approved by council in Glenmore, just so staff understand where the money is coming from.
Thank you. So D, that these...
E.
Oh, it would be E, never mind me, E. These items be paid for from the CACs derived from the project recently approved on Glenmore Drive.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Councillor Snyder. Any discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor? Contrary carried. And Ms. Keith, you are here on item number 11. I'm sorry you have had to stay all this time. I should have moved it to the higher up on the agenda. I'm sorry. Did you want to speak to this at all?
Yes, to the mayor. So at the last committee of the whole session, there was a motion passed by the committee up to council to direct staff to do various actions in relation to implement the urban forest management plan. The actions, I think staff right now, between Mr. Bailey and I, are looking for a little bit more narrow focus on the direction. It was quite a few actions to try to implement in the next year, just considering the resourcing and budget implications. So we're looking to possibly refine the motion and really focus on what can be done in 2025 to implement the urban forest management plan.
Is there anything you would like to alter with this motion?
So one thing that I'd like to just bring attention to was in relation to the motion was 1C, the proactive tree maintenance of public trees. So this is a shift in the current policy right now of we do not proactively maintain trees. Staff right now are developing a database of our natural assets, our trees in our public land area, and really getting to understand how many trees we have. If we were to look at proactive program, where we would focus our efforts on, the frequency, and that really feeds into a future budget request. So at this time, I think we still need to continue to do background work and potentially look at reviewing our district tree policy to align with that. So I don't think we'd be able to come forward with a full program in 2025, and just given that there is quite a change in the current policy for tree management. So that's one comment. 2D, the second part where it says implementing a tree giveaway discounted tree program, and the second part says, and work closely with residents to plant more trees on public lands. That second part was, I believe, an error in how the discussion went. That's not an actual action of the Urban Forest Management Plan. I think that there's a lot of difficulties in navigating more tree planting on public lands, just given views, infrastructure, maintenance of our green space. And I think we would like to focus our efforts in helping residents plant trees on their properties, but really focusing, just having staff focus on a planting plan for our public lands.
Thank you. Sorry, Councillor Thompson. Oh, sorry.
No, I just, in terms of 1B, the lowering of the protected tree size on private property, I know that was quite a bit of discussion. Right now, at this time, staff really do recommend that would require more staff to implement to effectively manage and enforce. That likely would be difficult to do in 2025. To resource adequately to ensure that that's effectively implemented. And so we would like to take further time to determine how that could work.
Okay.
And not come.
So we'll remove 1B, C, and 2D from the recommendation?
Just for clarity, for 1C, we would still like to focus on, right now, really looking into being able to replace replant trees for dead, dying trees and really try to keep up with the tracking and replanting. But it's the first part that I think we need to defer to a later time.
Okay. Well, I'll ask if I've got a member of council willing to make the motion, and then we can debate it.
I'll make the motion.
Councillor Thompson is moving it as amended. And is there a seconder? Councillor Watt, and now discussion. Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, thank you. Just around 2D, I understand what you're saying, that it wasn't really, that section wasn't part of the management plan. But I do sense or recall there was quite a bit of discussion about being really proactive at planting programs. And are we separating ourselves from that?
So, sorry, I guess I should clarify. So through the mayor to Councillor Thompson, an action of the Urban Forest Management Plan is to work with stewardship groups and school groups and that sort of thing to continue looking for planting areas and continuing that type of tree planting program. I suppose I interpreted the second part of, we were talking about the tree giveaway or a discounted tree program that we could fund in some means or another that would allow, if people weren't able to plant trees on their properties, that the trees could be given away to plant on other private properties. And so that's, the first part of D is implementing a tree giveaway discounted tree program. That would be great to ensure that there's more trees being planted on private property. And in terms of the programs that we run with our stewardship groups or with the schools that we just completed over the last couple of weeks, I think that's a separate action and we continue to look for those.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Keith. Councillor Gambioli.
Okay, so just so that I understand, so this would essentially be rewritten before it comes. Is this it coming back to council, or are we still having it come back to council again? No.
So through the mayor, my understanding, and maybe Ms. Dallas can correct me, is that the committee of the whole, which is yourselves, passed this motion to bring up to council, then to direct staff. So the amended motion would be what staff would take away to do the work necessary, and the next time we would come back would be with the bylaw amendments or what have you that's listed here.
All right, so it's not coming back again. Okay, so how I understood it, or now how I'm understanding it is that, okay, this would be amended by saying, council directs staff focus efforts on actions in 2025, blah, blah, blah. And then under number 1, A would be improving tree protection during construction. B would be replacement of dead and dying trees.
Right.
On public lands.
Okay, and on public land, okay. And, but I don't want to lose B and C completely. We can't do them in 2025, but I don't want to, I don't want them to fall off. So
They are still in the urban
there's something
forest.
to kind of do. I mean, we don't all of a sudden pass a bylaw and enforce it the next day. It takes months of,
So currently,
scenes.
the work that I've been doing with the Parks Department in terms of developing our database of our tree assets and doing some assessments and really getting an understanding of our trees, we're working off a council-approved budget from 2023, I believe. And so
Okay.
we still have that funding left to really finish off that project, build our GIS database, and really know where we're at and continue that work, as well as likely review our district tree policy. We can do that with existing staff. We've already received approval from, I think it was the previous council to do this work, or maybe it was this council. So that it won't stop. What I'm saying is that I don't think in 2025 we'd have the ability to come forward with a full proactive tree maintenance program, accounting for all the risk management and that sort of stuff. We just need a bit more time to determine how we could do that.
So what I would really like to see is to not lose B and C, that go in the addendum to this recommendation, I guess, to say that will be done.
But those items are still in our
2026.
tree management plan.
I know, but when they're in a plan, we don't see it and we don't remember it. And if we don't want to remember it, we sort of ignore it. So I know that there will be, a lot of disappointed people if we completely let this slide. So you're saying then that under number two, staff can work on in 2025, A, B, C, and D, with the exception of the last part of Part D.
Through the mayor to Councillor Gambioli, yes. So for 2A, B, C, and a bit of 1A, those are sort of all bylaw amendments to do with the tree bylaw and the zoning bylaw. We could come forward with sort of those suite of bylaw amendments for consideration to council.
Okay, that's great.
Okay, Councillor Cassidy?
So this is regarding 1B. There was a fair degree of emotionality at the council of the whole meeting, the committee of the whole meeting, as to this subject that, let's get on with it and let's lower this tree size. So how are you going to do a survey of what is happening in other districts, other communities? What is the determination we're going to use as a figure?
But that item is withdrawn.
Sorry?
Ms. Keith is recommending that be withdrawn.
Wanted to withdraw it?
Yes. Well, from right now, from this
Right,
year.
okay, well, my apologies. All right.
There just isn't enough staff time to deal with that.
And if I can give you an aside, I was at a committee meeting and I was amazed at the size of the trees that they protect in Richmond. I thought Richmond has trees, but apparently it does. Their circumference is smaller than ours that they protect.
Thank you. I mean, for clarity through the mayor to Councillor Cassidy, yes, there are municipalities that have a lower tree protection size than we do on the North Shore. We are consistent with the District of North Van. Those are areas where there, as you said, not a lot of trees, very low tree canopy cover, and many of those trees have been planted with new subdivisions and that sort of thing, so they really are trying to protect as many as possible. I understand that. I think they deal less with such large, older, dying trees, but I'm definitely not saying that we can't consider this. I just think in 2025, as we're moving through the budget cycle, we do really recommend having more staff to deal with this, and we would need to bring that forward at a later date for consideration. I just do want to point out that although we have a higher tree protection size on existing properties, we still protect trees in environmentally sensitive areas down to 10 centimeters in diameter, along the foreshore, along creeks and that sort of thing. So boulevard trees are all protected, public trees are all protected regardless of the size. So we do still protect and then there's certain species, there's about 7 or 8 specific species that we protect regardless of their size. So we are protecting quite a few trees, even with the 75 centimeter diameter of the other types of trees. But At this time, I think if we focus on the zoning bylaw and the density requirements and replacement and landscaping and that sort of stuff, we can monitor that and come forward at a later date with considerations of a lower tree protection size.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Watt.
Question C, proactive tree maintenance of public trees and replacement of dead, dying trees. So weren't we already doing that this past summer in a lot of our parks?
So through the mayor to Councillor Watt, so to clarify, the Parks Department does proactively or look over at the trees in the business areas and our heritage trees and that sort of stuff. This past summer, as I explained, we were working through with a consultant on, we identified about 4,000 trees and in high-use park areas along trails that we worked with the consultant to assess and understand, put them into a database and inventory them and assess for condition. We're working through that, and we've been working through addressing some of the higher risk trees so that we have an understanding. So the next step would be now, and that's very focused areas. It's definitely not all of our public trees. So the next step now would be to determine the frequency at which we would need to monitor those trees, when we would return to them, so that we kind of understand the staff implications and really define the scope of, if we were to do a proactive tree maintenance program, where would we actually look at that? It would be not possible, I think, to do every tree in the district. Doing trees along boulevards adjacent to private properties would be really difficult to do because there's so many of them, but it sort of also aligns with our public tree policy right now, which currently says we do not maintain our trees, and then how also we assess the risk of trees. So I think that sort of all is something that staff actually do want to review in 2025 and come forward. I don't know, it could still be in 2025, but come forward at a later date with some options for council to consider.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I guess I was confused because a number of trees were cut down in the parks and new ones planted. So I guess I presume that was part of that proactive policy.
Right, and we do that. There's a lot of areas that the Parks Department really do, because they have so much staff in the parks, that they are monitoring the trees, so they're staying on top of those. The replacement is, we are now tracking the trees that are removed for certain projects and that sort of stuff, and we are trying to replace them. But often when you remove a tree, it's potentially for a sidewalk, or you learn that it has conflicts with infrastructure and stuff. So it's difficult to replace every tree that's been removed. But at least now we're starting to track and starting to really determine how we could do that within our existing resources of watering trucks and that sort of stuff.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gambino.
Good news story.
Yay.
And it's not related to this motion, but it is kind of related to the motion. I just thought, before Ms. Keith walks away, I have to say that about 10 days ago, I participated in one of our coordinated West Van District, West Van School Board tree planting initiatives. And this one was up at the high school, at Sentinel High School, and it was fantastic. And we only planted 3 trees, okay, but the trees were big. I was really surprised. I mean, they were as tall as the top of the rim of the circle up here. They were maple trees, and I mean, they weren't like wide, and they'd lost their leaves, so they did look a bit, Charlie Brownish, but they're maple trees specifically chosen for the site by the arborist,
the school board landscaper.
School board landscaper. And she came, and Heather was there, and Megan Wise was there as well. And I was there because I'm the chair of the pack at the moment. And a bunch of the students, the garden gurus at the high school, helped to plant all these trees. They were in huge root balls like this, and they were brought in a truck. Anyways, one of about, I'm going to say 10.
We did 11 schools, and we planted about 50 trees of that size in total.
Yeah, so this is part of the $10,000 that we agreed a year ago should come out of the Environment Fund to go to planting trees in spots that needed them. And it's a lot of work for staff, but at least it gets Heather out of the office when she wants to and gets her into her gumboots. And I mean, it was fun for everyone to see, and it was great for the students. And that's a legacy piece that will be there for years and years. And hopefully we can continue to do it.
Wow, that's cool. Okay, seeing no further hands or discussion, may I call the question? All those
Mayor
in favor?
Sager?
Oh, sorry.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
Did you want me to read the motion because it's been modified? And I just wanted to confirm with Councillor
like to
Thompson
do that.
and Watt that the amendments are acceptable.
Okay, sure.
Okay. Just very quickly, that the following recommendation made by the Committee of the Whole at its October 28th meeting be ratified as follows. That Council direct that staff focus efforts on actions in 2025, from the Urban Forest Management Plan in the areas of 1, managing existing trees by A, improving tree protection during construction, and replacement of dead, dying trees on public lands, and 2, growing urban forest by A, increasing tree replacement and planting requirements, B, maintaining tree density pre-post construction via the zoning bylaw, including provisions for tree replacement within the zoning bylaw, and D, implementing a tree giveaway discounted tree program, and to bring forward for council consideration.
Thank you. And that's agreeable to the mover and seconder. I'll call the question. All in favor? Contrary carried. Thanks very much. Are there any reports from any members of council? And hearing none, are there any questions sorry, Councillor Watt, you do.
It's okay. Yeah, I just wanted to talk about the Remembrance Day
Thank you.
celebrations. Yeah, we haven't had a meeting since then, have we?
No.
That was just last Monday. So I attended with Mayor Little of the District of North Van and Mayor Buchanan the November 8th Indigenous Remembrance Day at the Tsleil-Waututh Nation. And that was a wonderful experience and really interesting to hear their stories and respect our First Nations members who have gone and fought for freedom in our country. And I was also at a wonderful Remembrance Day celebration at Glen Eagles, where my own children went, and Mulgrave School as well. And that's all I wanted to say, that it was a wonderful turnout at all of the celebrations that I was at. Oh, and of course, our Remembrance Day ceremony and parade. That was fantastic, and the weather cooperated at the last minute, so.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Gambioli.
I'll just report quickly on an event, actually about 3 weeks ago now. We were, I don't know, I was the only one there, but from the police department was putting to sleep for the winter their native canoe.
Oh.
And what was really interesting for me is that it was done down at the little elementary school on the Squamish Nation at the foot of Capilano Road. Mm-hmm. And I've never been on site and never been in the building. And it's actually a beautiful little school inside, beautiful artwork and whatnot inside. And what was really great is that it was a beautiful day and the canoe was in the center, and some of our police were coordinating the ceremony. And the children from the school, the ones who were, I'm going to say around grade 5, were the ones who were singing and doing the music, with their drums, and the teachers were kind of helping them, and all the littler kids, the real primary ones, were clapping and keeping time and sort of mouthing the words. And anyway, I've never seen the kids do the ceremonies before, so it was really great to see, and a really unusual event. It was a great invitation.
Thank you. That is a beautiful school. Could I have a motion to receive the reports? Sorry, Councillor Cassidy.
Sorry, so I was also at the Mulgrave School celebration as well. And since we're naming out schools here, I don't want Irwin Park to be left out. I attended there, and I have to say, an elementary school that my son did attend and did get out of eventually, that they had an absolutely beautiful, very, very moving celebration. And into it all, I mean, those children did an amazing job, but into it all, they gave us, the guests that they invited, of which I was one, a beautiful felt poppy that the children had made that can be reused for many a year to come, and I will. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Watt.
We had the Employee Recognition Awards as well, and they were fantastic, and there were a number of awards given out, and I'm trying to look through here. I've got quite a stream of them. I don't know whether to read them all out.
I think we can share those.
We
by
can
email.
share a document. Anyway, congratulations to all of our staff who, were the recipients of awards, and of course to all the staff that there just wasn't enough time to mention. I guess there'd be a lot more awards given out if we were to honor everybody who comes forward and brings their very best every day to the successful running of this municipality. So thank you all.
Thank you. Councillor Thompson, could I ask you for a motion to receive the reports from Mayor and Council?
Yes, I'd like to recommend that oral reports from Mayor and Council be received for information.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Lambert. Seconded. Discussion. All those in favor? Contrary carried. Are there any public questions or comments this evening? Yes, sir. Thank you. You've been very patient sitting out there. Take your time, sir. It's no problem.
Yeah, I can work on it. As long as I don't fall down. Can I take a seat?
Please, of course.
I want to backtrack a little bit, Mayor and Council.
Could I ask for an introduction, sir? Would you mind?
My name is Tony St. Cyr. I'm a veteran, and I'm glad to live in this beautiful place called West Vancouver. Now, my question is about this, turning up the parking enforcement to a private company.
Oh, no, sir. This is an exploratory idea. This is not, there's no commitments, there's no anything.
Okay, that's my question about this. So does it work with the bylaw enforcement?
Sir, I'm going to invite you, if you give our corporate officer your email address, I'll ensure you're invited. You can come and ask all the questions. I sat through this presentation. It was about an hour and a half.
Right.
And it covers, the control would be, as I understand it, and understand, I'm learning just like everyone else will be, but this system gives complete control to the municipality in all aspects.
All right, so there's an oversight. We have
total oversight.
All right, because private companies kind of dictate their own venues and
no.
stuff
You
like
see,
that.
the current plan we have with Impark does give them.
Oh, it's Impark.
No, it's not. No. That's who we currently contract with. This company is a completely different kettle of fish entirely. This is more of a computer AI.
That's the thing. Now we're talking.
But sir,
about,
I'd be happy I'd invite you back. I can show you the website. You can look for yourself. I'll invite you to the presentation. We're just learning. This is something that is brand new technology.
But still, bylaw and the law enforcement overlook and their oversight on this whole
absolutely
private company that's
Yes.
coming in here.
Yes.
All right. You can't tell me the name of the company right now?
Municipal Parking Systems.
Oh, okay. And it's a private company? Is it Canadian owned or is it
It's a
American
U.S.
owned?
company.
All right. So they have Canadian corporate
Sure.
structure?
I have no idea. I have no idea, sir.
I'm just trying to figure out here because bylaws, if I park my car too long on a Tuesday, I get a ticket. That's bylaw, that's enforcement, that's your oversight.
Yeah, sir, I'm going to invite you again to come to the presentation because this concept approaches parking from a completely different way. And I just encourage you to come and listen to this fellow. We may not like it.
Well, Mayor, you know, sometimes this is a council, right? You're a mayor, this is a council. You overlook everything. You make sure that those private contractors do their job, right?
Yes.
So what's the oversight in this one? That's my main concern.
Oh, very fair question, sir.
Do I get a
This
ticket?
is
You know, 'cause
just a preliminary look. That's all I'm asking members of council. And I've got to learn too. But from the
And
hour
we're
and a
going
half.
to-
Sorry?
Correct you on that. AI technology.
It's based on AI technology.
All right.
And they're parking where they use, you know, when you go downtown Vancouver and you go to a parking machine,
Yeah,
you put
for
your
sure.
license
Yeah.
plate in, They have something similar. The difference is you can talk to this one. It speaks in every language. You can ask it,
Oh, that's good.
where is Carmelo's? And it can give you the direction.
All right, the best part about West Vancouver, let me tell you right now. If you park downtown, you're going to get a ticket. You park in West Vancouver, go Ambleside to a fair or the farmer's market, you're not going to get a ticket. You got some parking. Okay, may stack up street. But now you're going to introduce AI technology for parking tickets. So
No, sir,
which
you're getting,
transcends bylaw.
sir, great respect. You're getting way ahead of it here. Just come to the presentation. We are not doing anything right now except inviting someone to give us a presentation.
Okay, cool.
That's
We'll
it.
work on that. Yeah.
That's it.
Sounds good.
Thank you. Are there any other public questions? Hearing none, may I have a motion to adjourn? Seconded, all in favor, contrary carried. Thanks very much, everyone, for joining us tonight.